And it's now 9 a.m. So I'm going to call this special board meeting on Thursday, January 23rd to order at 9 a.m. Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to do the pledge this morning?
I think Mr. Krieger ought to do it since he's graced us with his presence.
Mr. Krieger, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call.
President St. Amand,
Present.
Vice President Griffin, Director Kaczynski,
Present.
Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Retora.
Here.
Okay. Posting of agenda declaration.
The agenda for today's special board meeting workshop was posted on Tuesday, January 21st, 2025.
All right. Let the record show that Director Griffin has just joined us.
I did, sorry.
I like the
tables.
I like this. I know I like this. We can see the screen.
Conflict of interest declaration.
President St. Amand,
None.
Vice President Griffin,
None.
Director Boyd,
None.
Director Kaczynski,
None.
Director Retora.
None.
All right. Public questions and comments. Do we have anybody online?
We have two people online.
All right, so this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on the agenda and over which the board has jurisdiction. However, no action may be taken by the board of directors on any item not appearing on the agenda. Non-agenda speakers are asked to limit their presentations to 5 minutes. Public questions and comments on items listed on the agenda will be accepted at any time the item is brought forth for consideration by the board. When you're recognized by the chairperson, please state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comments? All right, no one online, and we don't have any public present here at the meeting this morning, so we'll give it another 30 seconds. Or maybe 15. And we'll go ahead then and go item number 7, the board workshop.
Okay. Workshop items. So we're going to start out with 4 sort of special topics. We call those. One will be a comprehensive budget review. We'll follow that up with a discussion about our new GIS and work order processing system. We're going to again do a quick review of our California Conservation of the California Way of Life review, and then some quick notes on our meter replacement program and sort of the annualized cost and what that's going to do as we go to the future. And then we'll move on to sort of our normal priorities for each of our sections. So I think we can start with the budget review, and I will look to Ty to lead the way. So this is a sort of a new way of looking at the budget, and hopefully this, we're looking for feedback, of course, and if this is effective and useful information for the board.
All right, so we're trying to just give a different look at how the budget's presented, hopefully give you a better idea of where money's going or where we have shortfalls. We've kind of broken it down into 15 different sections. Looking at our operations side, and then at the end, looking at capital improvement. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this one, we're a little more detailed on this one, but we kind of broke it down. We're looking at each of the different departments based on the labor, based on services, materials, and then if they have any special kind of line items. You can see in engineering, everything is under budget.
So the 3 columns are
Yeah.
how much we budgeted and was approved by the board, correct?
Correct.
How much we have spent year to date. We're about 6 months in. Is this about 6 months
This is
in?
6 months. This is through December,
This is 6 months in, and this, if it's in parentheses, I guess that means we are
under budget.
under budget, which means we're, so a lot of good news in the engineering analysis.
Was that last one KNS? Is
Yes,
that Krieger and Stewart?
it is.
Oh, man, we need, I'm just kidding.
That's for general.
Specifically general,
That's-
like,
yeah.
building engineering type
Yeah.
stuff.
That's everything that's charged to our regular expenditures, not any capital projects.
Right.
Okay, good.
Right. All right,
Like, for instance, him being here today.
Yeah.
Still, that number's gonna go up.
So much for the deficit.
Expensive.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide if
Sure.
like, this customer account, real easy, services, materials, the bulk of theirs is labor. It's making sure we have staffing up front, and you can see across the board, once again, below budget.
What would normally fall under services?
For services, that would be, like the printing of the bills, the bill
Okay.
stock, stuff like that, postage, yep,
And why don't you have anything in that column for year to date?
because we haven't spent anything on that yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They buy their bill stock at like
And,
6 months.
Yeah, yeah,
and generally these, for a lot of these like customer accounts, you base the budget essentially on the prior year, what we spend with
Yeah.
some adjustments.
and if we have any, yeah.
So we would
any insight.
expect, we normally would expect to spend about that amount.
Yeah, by the end of the year, that's when we'll order our bill stock for the next year and up our postage machine and, yeah.
So you'll see a recurring theme in these first set of slides where we tend to sort of hold back and we're under budget in a lot of areas, and we sort of save that money for the end of the year so that we have cushion should something unexpected happen.
And this is not a zero-based budget, if I'm correct, it's based on history, right?
Right.
Okay.
Alright, next. Field services, a little bit more going on here, and we did break out AMI from other services and materials, we got the meter maintenance, vehicle maintenance. We did add a couple of CIP projects in here just because they go along with field services, we have the normal meter replacement. And then we do have the 87-1 ultrasonic meters. Though it wasn't specifically in the 2025 budget, the board did approve that. I added it in there, and that's coming from assessment district revenue. And I think we just paid that bill a couple weeks ago, so that number will jump.
Was it about, so the purchase was about that 550,
Yeah,
so that's just sort of zero
a
out.
little less, and then we have to add in the labor component as they go out and replace those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have the cost of those meters gone up considerably?
From 5 years ago, yes, still a meter's about $370. They used to be closer to 300.
I'm sorry, the new meters, or,
Yeah.
there was an increase in price between the old mechanical meters and the new meters, right?
There was, but it was very minimal.
Oh,
The reason we didn't go with it earlier is because they were having problems with heat. So we're waiting, our third party, outfit that tests the meters. He'd had problems with them in other areas with the heat differentials, and so he's all, don't buy those yet, but now he's comfortable with them, so we're, okay, let's go forward.
And these are all set up wireless so they can report
Mhm.
without having readers.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, go next. So the maintenance and construction. You see, we have the big ticket items, of course, the labor, and then the lateral street maintenance. This is us trying to keep ahead of the city whenever there's any of those issues going on with valve cans or even replacing services, so most of the services go to capital.
Are we still trying to take advantage of the city's gonna do work on our road?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, they give us their payment schedule and we-
Okay.
and we go out.
Just got an update from them in the last couple of weeks.
Alright. Next.
I like this.
so when you have vehicle maintenance listed twice, I think you had it on a previous slide, and you have it on this slide, that's because they have their own fleets of vehicles?
Yep, yeah, we charge it to the different departments.
Okay. So they each have their sort of own budget for this year.
Yeah, that way we have a kind of a total cost for that operation.
Okay.
Water supply. We do have a lot of structure and equipment maintenance. Chemicals and utilities, that's a huge number for that. And we've seen those utilities go up, both with rate changes as well as some of the vandalism that's happened at our solar sites.
While you're speaking about the solar sites, where are we at on that? Cause we don't have any running right now, right? Or is there
They're running.
They're running, just not
They're not producing.
full
Capacity.
capacity. Yeah, we're looking at different options to put in monitoring systems. Whether it be a trailer or whatnot, so we can, and that's what a bunch of like Edison and those.
Yeah,
other
we got
outfits
three,
use.
we got 3 quotes right now for a trailer mounted camera system that would alarm if anybody was seen on the site.
Wouldn't it be more economical if we just put like a pole and bought a event camera or something offline with
So,
a Starlink?
we've talked to some security people and they said that the trailer itself is a deterrent. Seeing the trailer out there for whatever reason, it's easier to see than just the pole mounted cameras. And it helps keep people from even trying to get into the site.
Okay.
But yes, it is more economical for just a pole.
Well, so as far as offsetting cost, where's our electric bill going to the cost of fixing that wire and getting it replaced? Are we spending more than what it would cost to get that wire fixed and move on and get that done?
I think the cost was, it was over 100,000.
For all the sites that have been hit is about, we estimate 150,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
So what's the increase in our electric bill then, since they're not on production?
it's about 50,000 a year, so it's gonna catch up.
It's gonna catch
Yeah,
us
we're
if we
looking
don't
to
get
do
it
this
done.
soon. We're just.
That's
doing
my
our homework.
concern,
Yeah,
so. Okay,
yeah.
You have any type of coverage for that?
Yes, we'll submit it to Sederma. We're waiting because if there's more pulled out, we don't wanna do a second claim. So we're getting the cost of the repair as well as the cost of the trailer. So we can be ready to go as soon as we have.
so what have we bought? I'm thinking outside the box, cause I know those trailers are expensive and we pay a rental fee. So what have we bought a light tower?
So
And we
What-
just mounted that camera on a light tower.
what we're doing right now is we're going to rent it and see how effective it is. Before we go invest the capital, the investment in actual, something that's gonna be a permanent fixture out there to service security. We wanna see if it's even effective, if someone's stopping people from even trying to break in or catching people that do.
Or if it covers the whole site.
Yeah, we just need to know those things before we try to do the cost of actually installing a tower and running the wire and everything like that.
Yeah, I'm just, because like, I have one on my
No.
boat and it's very effective. I mean, it goes off, I get an alarm if somebody walks on my boat and it costs me $70 for the camera, literally, $130 a month for a Starlink system.
Are you going by recommendations? I know you're talking to some security groups and you're using recommendations from them as well?
Yeah, we talked to security, we talked to Edison because they obviously face similar issues with
Okay.
people stealing copper, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
What's been effective for them at their substations.
Jason, we have a number of other clients that also have this problem and various solutions. I can, give you contacts.
Sure,
that you
yeah.
can
That'd be
call,
great.
Figure out challenges they've had and what their preferences are.
Yeah.
Down in the big city,
Lower desert.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
they really know how to do vandalism.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Chuck. And I think that based on history from security companies and or what Chuck said, other people are dealing with it. I think they could probably steer us in what works for them. Hell, you may find one of them that say, we tried to camera on the pole and here's what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with Chuck. I think that's the most economical way to do it, but I also believe that the security professionals know best.
So I think in order to bring this conversation to a close, you guys are gonna get some contacts from Chuck. And you're gonna present us with your findings as to what's the most economical solution, both for the short term and the long term.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank
We'll be
you.
sure it's on P and E.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, just one clarifying point though. At one point, you were thinking about electrifying the fences around the installations.
Yeah, well, renting the security system for the site was, it's best estimate is about $25,000 to $30,000 for the year. Electrifying the fences was $20,000 a month. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why my question was, cause I know I've priced it for a job and then they want like 5,000 to 7,000 a month for a trailer rental. So that's why I'm thinking if we can just put up a couple cameras on a pole, even if we bought.
okay,
a light.
remember this, we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Sorry.
All right, we go next slide. This is our administration. You see insurance is a big number.
Yeah.
PERS as well. Insurance rates they jumped a lot this last year. I'm hoping for not as big a jump, but we'll find out. They send us an estimate beforehand, so as soon as I know, I'll share that information.
This is Sederma, right?
Yes. Yeah, services, yeah, so we're under the budget across the board. We'll keep track of it, but
Well, you spent about half the budget,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? And then we're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, so we're not really, I mean, if you were to look at the expected year end total, we're not really
Right.
under budget.
But
We're on track.
We're on track.
We're on track.
But we're under
coming up
budget
to
for
the ones where,
2025.
where we're running over, so those will,
If he would have added a percent of budget column, that would tell you pretty much where you are mid-year.
Yeah.
You do see, you hope to see all at 50%, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, good idea.
not make work for you there, Ty.
That's easy to add.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Renee, you made a comment about the insurance, Segura?
Oh, I was just wondering, like, that's not health insurance, it's Sederma.
That's our property and liability
It's at the
insurance.
JPIA.
Yeah.
it was workers' comp in there too.
Workers' comp would be included in that.
Yeah, they were talking about increases due to cyber, at this last Aqua conference.
Yeah.
They didn't give any percentages, but. I know it went up last year because of that.
Yeah.
They're apparently still having trouble.
Yeah, we'll see what the fire thing does too.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
That
geez.
could be scary.
Yeah.
Now, when you're going through these things, would you identify what things are sort of monthly, regular, and how, which ones are individual procurements, like 4 procurements a year or 2 procurements a year, so we can get a better idea of basically what Ron was saying is looking at the insurance, do we pay 12 monthly?
Yeah, everything here is monthly.
Okay, so then we can, if we're less than half at half of the year, then we would expect to, at the end of the year, still be under.
You never know with
That's the
insurance
hope.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Cause some things are, you have more one time or 2 time expenditures and looking at sort of an average doesn't do a lot for you.
Let's go next slide. So this is non-operational, and I did add legislative in here, not that you're non-operational, but it just didn't fit anywhere else.
So that's what you think.
I'm sure
Um,
that was just a joke.
It was a joke. Okay, you can see here, everything's so far under the 2025 budget. The debt service, we run a month behind on that. So we're about where we need to be on all of these.
Can you explain a couple of them for me?
Sure.
The alternate water supply, is that going into the reserve for that or?
No, this is just, it's kind of become the general, GSA support kind of,
Okay. I see what you're
Catch-all.
saying. Okay.
yeah.
How about the non-op conservation?
That's any of our conservation efforts when we go to like the Home and Leisure Show, buy the materials.
Okay.
for
Swag.
that. Yeah,
Handouts.
Giveaway stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
The miscellaneous is everything else that doesn't fit in its own little box.
Yeah.
A lot of that is, you have your credit card service charges, you have. That's the only one I can think of
Yeah.
off the top of my head, but property tax, stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
On the debt service, I'm assuming that's just the interest.
That's just the interest. Yeah, okay, let's go to the next slide. GA fees. See, the extraction fee and the replenishment fee are both above the 50%, and that's because this year's been warm, I believe, so there's been more water usage, which then increases those. We have an increase on the opposite side for revenue.
Right. It's just a pass through anyway,
It is pass through, yeah. So that's
but
just-
obviously it still affects our customers.
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Next slide. Okay, so here's our technical consulting. This is essentially for the GSP support. We got a contract amounts of 148,000. These are specific contracts for specific work. Budget, we budgeted 150,000. To date, we're at 94,415. And for a contract, because that spans multiple years, we're at 130,062.
Say that again, what's the CTD?
Contract to date, so some contracts span multiple fiscal years.
Okay,
And this is just, yeah, GSP support.
Obviously for legal, we don't have a contract.
We don't have a specific contract for that work, yeah.
that's the, and that's illegal, the M.
Well, it would fall under that 150,000.
Now, like Clean Energy Capital, we don't owe them anymore, or,
We're done, yeah.
okay, so that is gonna end at the 12th at 7:34,
Yeah.
so we're.
Unless we ask them to do additional work, yeah.
Oh, I see, but that was a contract.
So that is okay, I see it's spent out then, okay, perfect.
Specific task, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, this one being, Ty and I were talking, we're trying to figure out the best way to present this, cause it's hard. We have a contract that could take, you know, a year and a half or 2.5 years, you know, how do we really wanna budget for what we need out of this year to pay for that piece of the contract?
Yeah.
Cause we don't know exactly how that's gonna, how those bills are gonna roll, and they could run ahead of schedule. So those are a little more difficult, but as we move forward, one of the things that'll be nice is we will use this template to help us develop the future budget, and we'll sort of, you know, make sure that we have,
Coverage for the contract.
coverage for all of these contracts that, in a way that, cause like you can see the GSP support, that one item, we didn't look like we necessarily put a wedge in for that one. So next year we'll make sure we do that.
Is it safe to say that the replenishment fee is roughly $500,000 a year? Is that what I saw in here? Is it weird? It's not, no,
The extraction fee?
no, not these strategies.
I think they're like 2.4.
Yeah, the replenishment fee is usually around 2.5
A year.
million, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we budgeted 2,539.
We'll probably come in closer to 3 million this year.
Okay, 3 million, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, next.
Oh, my God.
Legal.
You need to go home right now.
Yeah, we don't need to.
So we were able.
I don't see a column that says contract amount on
I better open some of these expensive candies.
Let's see what he brought us. Candy.
That's why I brought it candy.
Engineering after legal.
So we went through and we broke out legal between just what's general district legal. Obviously, we pulled out the GSP support and then the adjudication legal.
Okay.
And this is kind of how we broke down our budget, 800,000 for the adjudication. To date, 295,000. That'll probably ramp up with the court cases. The models due next month, I believe, and
Well, but the models do the trial, the models do in February, but the trial's still set for 2026.
okay.
And we're doing the depositions and all that other fun stuff, getting ready.
What we have coming up is the phase one. And we'll participate, but we probably will not be, lead on that. Somebody else will push that. But
And I know the board had a little snicker when we got to legal. This is really serious stuff here. I mean, the money that we're spending on the adjudication. Because district legals, we need that. That happens on a regular basis. When it comes to adjudication, the matter is a very serious matter. It's money we don't want to have to spend, but we're being forced to spend. And I would hope that all of us on the board are always looking or advocating for ways to reduce that in terms of cooperation. And the more cooperation we get with other entities, hopefully the less that becomes, but that's all we can do. Otherwise, it is what it is. But it's a serious issue and we need to take it that way.
Well, and it's also, the adjudication itself is a one-time cost. It's gonna
Yeah.
have very good benefits for Valley. We're gonna end up
Yes.
with, the proper safe yields, the proper storage, the right allocation to the right people in a legal way that's, legal in the state across the board. So, that's a one-time fee that probably every basin in California will probably eventually end up going through that process.
In our opinion, the cost benefit is on our side.
Yeah.
Maybe the cost benefit of it, that the costs are gonna benefit us in the long run. And that's what we're hoping to achieve.
Some people may in the public say, why are we doing this? Because the groundwater authority has all this information, and the reason we're doing this is because the groundwater authority is not forthcoming with the evidence that they used to base their decisions upon. Their models, they still are refusing to provide their model, and if they had provided it, then we might have avoided all of this. And whenever they're queried as to why why they set the number of replenishment at roughly 7,200 acre feet, county council always responds with, well, you voted to accept that. So they deflect that if they were open and transparent with the information they used to make the decisions, none of this would be necessary.
And the GA should have done this themselves at the beginning, so they have no authority to assess water rights.
Now, the GA's model is also due at the end of February, right?
Yes.
What is it? By the court.
Yeah, and we're trying to, hopefully there'll be some, understanding amongst the parties before the production comes out, so it's an equal. We're producing what they're producing, because there's a lot of different components for the model. Technically,
Right.
Chuck would know a little bit more, but hopefully there'll be some type of an arrangement where we understand what we're getting beforehand and everybody is good with it, but February 20th applies to all the parties.
Good news. Thank you.
So do you feel good, we feel good about these budgeted amounts?
Yeah.
Comfortable?
I think we're gonna come in a little low as far as budget,
Okay.
because we've already spent all of the district legal, so. But we'll see.
And I wanna make note that this is not just Mr. Worth, this
No.
is all attorneys.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not just his firm,
I
so.
don't have the opportunity for that.
There's M&E over there.
Unless you really
Remember.
consider money.
You bring up a point, Ty. If you look at district legal, we're already over budget on that.
Yeah,
What got put in there that we didn't expect under the district part as opposed to the adjudication?
I didn't go through line by line to pull
Okay.
out the
Try
different.
to figure it out. And I think it's
But yeah.
interesting, no, because if that trend continues, then oh my gosh, if that's up to the one shot deal, it's
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there were certain, tasks that were sort of billed through legal, but actually were for other firms, and this, is that what is reflected in the number? I thought there were some things that came out.
Some could be, but if it's related to any of like the groundwater model or that we put into capital, so that would have come out of here.
Okay.
That's already come out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Maybe Jim knows.
Yeah.
You know, when I bill either, you know, adjudication.
Yeah.
Or generally, IWVGA, if it's GSA or something like that related. And then the other ones, I'll put, you know, consolidation, and I get as specific as I can,
Yeah,
but, you know.
There are a number of consolidations this year that we haven't had in the past. That could be the reason why it's over the top. We don't know that.
Yeah, he's been reviewing agreements and things for that.
yeah, but if I see those, then I pull them into capital.
And I'll raise my hand, I spend a lot of time calling our legal people for, you know, and it costs, when I call him up, they can.
So it's George's fault.
So, well, I'll take some piece of blame, but I think.
Well, no, but I, you know, I did talk with, before Ty was going through this process.
Yeah.
We did talk and so he understood what I was doing. And then we also made some, invoicing changes.
Yes.
So Ty, not everything's going through.
Okay.
My office, so Ty can keep a better track on it, so.
And when we approved this budget, we said that out loud, that
Yeah,
this
we did.
may not cover everything. We're kind of doing our best, and that's what kind of spurred on the rate study to make sure we can cover these things.
But it's a number you can, sort of, like, you can come up.
I can go through
Yeah, I
at
get
the
it.
invoices. yeah.
We're not doing it.
Well, and I think we're budgeted for 800,000 in the total adjudication, so we still have 500,000
And we're.
in the next 5 months.
We're
So I
not
don't
If
think
we're
we're
not
gonna
gonna hit
spend
that, then
that, so
we're
I think
fine.
we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall legal.
Two things.
But David, can I ask
Go
that,
ahead.
Mr. President, is that Ty can just report to the finance committee on what that district legal is about, so we have a better breakdown?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
if it's something we need to bring forward, we'll bring forward. If not, just on that informational.
So
Okay.
one, a budget is just an estimate.
Yeah,
And two, there is no blame to assign for causing
right.
people to call the lawyer. The legal fees are absolutely necessary. Next time I say something like that, I'll wait till you're done. So the water before-
I second that motion.
Jim, you also have, you've been working on the pipeline, right? So we charge pipeline,
It would
To
say
capital.
Northwest Pipeline.
Yeah.
okay, and that goes to capital, not to
The
this.
charges by line item, the report will come to the finance
Where I
committee.
put some, that's up the top.
We've had the CSD issues he's reviewed, we've had way more in
Oh, yeah,
actions.
We'll go
that's-
back.
I could be working on 10 different projects.
Yeah, we try to pull all the capital ones out and assign them to the project. I'll go back. Sometimes we do miss them. Cause some of those bills are quite extensive, but we try to catch them all.
Should've went to law school.
Water law.
No, you shouldn't.
All right, please, press on.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
You wouldn't have any friends?
No.
Deprived.
Oh, me and Phil could be friends.
Oh.
So here's the technical side of adjudication. This is pretty much everything we're putting into the groundwater model.
I like him.
These are the number, you see the contracts, some of this I had to dig up because they were never provided to me. That these are some of the actions that were taken
Wow.
that weren't passed on to
You
me.
did a
So
lot
I
of
didn't know
digging.
about them. Yeah,
Okay.
so in the 2025 budget, we put 430,000 total. You can see year to date, we're already at 578,000. That's gonna go up as this model completes in the next couple of months. We have a contract amount of 1.1 million, and to date, we have spent 981,000, which means there's possibly another $150,000 in those contracts for the Little Lake stuff, so.
And that's coming to a close.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's coming to a close, but this is everything, you know, from Little Lake to Rose Valley to what all that's gone into develop this groundwater model that we can capitalize,
Okay.
so.
Right?
So we've made an investment to make sure our science is backed up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because this is this again is a one-time investment to do the best science, to describe the characteristics of the basin and the recharge, and it's something that has to be done, and it has to be done right.
And this is more to show you just that we didn't put all the money in the budget because we were unaware of some of these contract numbers. This hopefully solves this, and in the future is a better model so that we can capture it all for the next budget year.
And I think there were some communication breakdowns between, there's certain things that weren't necessarily getting to tie in a timely manner, so we've had numerous discussions to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
So do we need to make a budget adjustment on this one?
Probably should, just to make sure we cover it all as far as the
Should
capital
that occur
project.
after the rate?
I would wait, yeah.
So
Let's do
probably
that.
what'll happen is we'll get the rate, 218 process done, and then we'll adjust based on what that turns out to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next slide. Here's some of our big CIP projects where we have contracts, we've listed them and the amounts.
I wasn't able to make any changes on this. It was like, it was a screenshot or something that was pasted into the PowerPoint, and I wasn't able to go in and put any.
Yeah, it's an Excel table,
Okay.
but we do not have budgets for Dune 3 or the solar repairs at this point,
Right.
but the Dune 3 is reimbursed by the state.
Yeah, it's like 4.2 million, I think our contract with the state is, so.
Okay, so I can
Yeah.
put that in there.
Yeah, I'll get you that.
Okay, you see the Springer line, we have 3.4 million budgeted, nothing to date on that. The Northwest transmission line, we have a $6 million budget for this year, and we're at 5.4 million. The 643,000 that we spent to date on the line also includes that 800 feet we did of HDPE,
Oh, yeah, ourselves.
1,800. So,
Okay,
How about the other consolidation project?
hometown doesn't have any,
I believe it's on the next page, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
is it? Let's go to the next page. then.
Is the 66,400,000, is that all paid to the contractors?
No.
Or does that include in-house costs?
It includes anything that has to do with the Northwest transmission line,
Okay.
that includes
So that's,
Inspection, consulting.
Traeger,
everything.
Stewart, yeah.
so to your point, Stan, like when we do in-house labor that supports that, that's how it gets shifted over into the CIP.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
counted.
so you answered my question. So any work that's done by Chuck or Jim on these capital projects gets charged to the.
Absolutely, that's part of the expense, yeah.
Okay. Now, while we're discussing that, where are we at on that as far as the removal of the pipe? That's one of my big concerns. We haven't released payment to that.
I've got a letter that's
Yeah.
gonna be done tomorrow, went through the contract, talked to Renee. to
We
get
have not
some-
had discussions with contractor yet.
Oh, okay.
He's just.
They're gonna get a letter.
He's gotta get it off there.
We've got,
Period, yeah.
Correct, but we should be able to take use of that pipeline. That is our pipeline.
we've got some other issues still to wrap up with it, so before we can take use of it.
You're saying that you don't want the pipe out there to be the hurdle that we have to go over.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a hurdle. I
It
mean,
won't
it's
be.
our pipeline. I wanna make sure that we can put that into effect as soon as we can.
Mhm.
And that he doesn't get paid until that pipe is removed, the remainder of his contract.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're discussing with, our regulators, you know, all the things that need to be done so that we can take possession of the pipeline.
Yeah.
And those talks are gonna lead to some negotiations.
So
We're still
clarification
on-
for people who are listening online, when the vice president says, take use of our pipeline, he's talking about the Northwest Transmission Pipeline as repaired. And when he talks about removal of the pipeline from the property, he's talking about the waste pipeline that was removed from the Northwest
It's
Transmission.
the old pipe.
Old pipeline. We are not taking possession of the waste pipe.
Absolutely.
That is the contractor's issue.
no, we want it disposed of.
Are we still on
Legally.
schedule for the Northwest pipelines?
Yeah, they got a,
Okay,
extension till the end of February.
yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yes.
So we're still, that's it,
They
hopefully.
still have some time.
So if there is one thing, they met with the Navy to do the fence repairs. The Navy needs 2 weeks' notice before they can get the security guys, and then they have to schedule the security guys to watch them do the repairs. And so we're trying to expedite that as quickly as possible within the time frame before the contract hits the end date, but like, we're somewhat at the mercy of the Navy and their schedule, because if they say, oh, I can't get security guys out there to watch your fence,
Until
do the
March.
fence repairs for 6 weeks, that is gonna impact us.
Yeah.
So, you know, we met with them once, you know, and they're, you know, I mean, our contractor, much to their credit, they were ready, let's get going, and the Navy was, well, you know, you gotta give us 2 weeks' notice on this, and 3 weeks' notice on that, and that is what it is.
Okay, you can give us an update of the plant equipment meeting.
Yeah, and then we Chuck, you need that information too, when you go to the jury meeting, if for some reason we're getting held up because of that.
Yep.
Maybe by saying something there, we can get some movement,
Okay.
if it's an issue. Okay.
Anything else on CIP contract? Right.
Next is the CIP in-house. There's where you find your Rademacher.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, Rock and Hometown are both
I was
grant
looking for
funded
that.
projects, but they are being installed by our crew, so
Right.
that's why it says in here.
Okay,
But
Um,
Hometown is like 260,000, it's very small. Rademacher, I can't remember exactly how much it is off the
Little
top
over
of
a
my
million.
head, but it's over 1 million, yeah. And it's broken down into 2 phases. The first phase is just about 1,000 feet of pipe. And then the second phase will be continuing that pipe down and around and looping around, and so it's in design right now.
Okay, I have a question on that, because I know I'm gonna get hammered next month. What would be the feasibility of doing a hot tap on China Lake Boulevard, running that line and getting that line at least stubbed down Rademacher to where we could say we're doing that?
You mean on
It would-
Springer?
Yeah, it would be
On
on
Springer.
Spring Lake, yeah, but,
yeah, it's-
Well, the original design, I know when I looked at it, had to doing a hot tap on
Springer.
China Lake.
No, Springer, it's on,
There is no line on China Lake there.
Yeah.
Tap it.
Thought it did have one.
on the other side of the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we have talked internally about installing that first 1,000 feet, at least being ready to cut in
tie in.
and drop the T when the time comes, so that it'll be online as soon as possible. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're looking at it.
I think that'd be a good idea if we just ran it and then made our connection when we
but the
could.
age of the line is an issue, right? Because if they, I mean, you're taking a risk, you do hot.
I'm not hot topping.
You-
No, but
Yeah.
so if they don't, but if they go ahead and get the pipe installed
yeah,
and
we talked
then they're
about
ready
that,
for
yes.
to put in
No,
the,
I'm just saying because of the age of the
drop
line.
a T in and be done.
In fact, that's why you wanna hold off, because even when dropping the T in, there could be an issue.
Right.
There always.
Well, that's when you're gonna cut it
Yeah.
open, so we don't wanna do that.
Yeah, yeah.
right now, but we could at least tell them that we're working and
Yeah.
our crews are gonna. get the
Everything that
pipe
can be
installed.
done in advance
Advance.
safely is being done in advance,
Yeah.
so we get ready to move when the Northwest Transmission
Yeah.
line's back in service. Great.
Okay, so I'm good telling them that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any more questions on this?
Purchases.
Chris is very good about getting right up to that number.
Boy, he is, isn't he?
He's done for the year.
He's done for the year, right?
He's got $3.
The meter replacement, you have a earlier, you
$3.
had cost for the meters. Is just this labor or?
So this 100,000 is what we budgeted for district-wide meter replacement. This includes any of the meters, whether they be bases or the full meters. I think we still have some bases left that we're finishing up using, as well as the labor.
So this is unrelated to the $550,000 purchase
This
of
is-
those electronic meters to that one. This is just our normal routine.
Yeah, this is what we've been doing every year. The 550,000 is reserved only for pretty much Ridgecrest Heights area.
And that was an
That's-
opportunity, we took.
Okay.
Yeah.
Money we had, rather than having to put it in this budget.
Right, right. It's been sitting there. I made sure that we could use it for that, and it's like, we should be using it for that, so.
Is there any money left in that budget that wasn't used for the purchase of the meters?
There's a little bit, maybe 10,000. We'll just move it over as we incur the labor side of it.
Oh, yeah, so we can use it for labor and
Yes.
zero out that.
Yeah, we'll be
basically.
zeroing it out, yeah.
What is this electric valve? line item?
The electric valves that we have some well sites that don't have enough back pressure to run like CL-17s and stuff like that, so. And have that, so we installed electric valves there for running from waste to. And then switching over to run to the system.
It was budgeted for last year, but it kind of leaked over into this year.
Okay, so
To
that
finish
186 isn't what we paid this year. That's a cumulative of number
Of the
of years.
project,
Today.
yeah.
Leaked over, is that a finance term for water district?
Not widely used, but once in a while in the water world.
Well, even accurate.
Better than ruptured.
Get Chris to spend his $3 so he can clean that out.
Sure.
All right, any more questions on this one?
No.
All right, next slide. These are kind of our projects we've identified that are overdue, and we put some cost to them, we put a time frame to them, so you'll see these ones coming up. As we have funds.
Karen,
It's a mainline replacement.
build the street name. All right,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you. Sorry.
Are
Is
they
Long
any
Mirage
any
still
kind of a priority?
Transit?
I'm sorry.
Still 6 inch.
That's what I thought it was, still 6 inch. okay.
Are they any kind of priority? In other words, which ones are more seriously need to be looked at than others in
Kind of by the year.
about a year? Okay.
Well, we just put in that MCC at well 17.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was 1991.
Yeah, that's all right.
Wow.
Seems like yesterday.
And we
And-
really abused 17 the last couple of years with that, not having the Northwest transmission line, so.
I hate to use the word overdue. Yeah, be overdue. Yeah, but if you're not basically saying this is deferred maintenance, it's just projects that are due.
And deferred.
Yeah, they're deferred capital projects.
They leaked
The
over.
the good news, the good news is this does not add up to $100 million. Or
200.
Yeah.
was it? What was it?
And this in no way signifies a dilapidated
Dilapidated.
system. I mean,
I was looking at
it's
the
just
total.
maintenance
Yeah,
that
you're
we
right, it's
have
not
to
nearly-
do on a
it's not
routine
what we
basis.
It's not
It's
200.
maintenance.
It's
This
not
this is getting
200
it done
million
before it
dollars.
is a problem.
Absolutely,
Typical of
It's-
every water district.
yes.
Yeah, okay. That La Mirage one, that's a big number.
That's a big one. That's an area we
Big area.
inherited from the Navy and it's a large area and it's getting old, so.
Former Wary housing?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
And that
main
will-
lines are behind sidewalk and things like that.
That's lovely.
and we'll link that into some future discussions about the formation of the construction crew to bring some of that work in-house instead of contract.
We're gonna be looking for grant funding for that.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Press on.
All right, next slide. These are some of the future CIP. These are in the capital improvement plan already, most of them.
These are sort of more, the ones that are more, that appear to be more than well, not all of them, 5 years out, 3 to 5 years out, sort of.
Right, they're kind of scheduled and we'll see how it goes.
Solar repairs.
Corrosion control, I don't have a real good, I'm not sure exactly what it's tailing yet, but transmission line inspection, we did get a quote, it was about $500,000. Do an inspection inside
Is it Bowman? Is that Bowman?
the Bowman line, yeah.
And the alternate transmission line, 7 million, that's also Bowman?
No, the alternate transmission line would be maybe Drummond or something like that, where we're finding another avenue to come in.
Yeah.
So if we have
Oh, I knew.
another failure,
I knew.
we have
Okay.
redundancy where we can route it around another way. Fault tolerance.
Would you tie in at Primavera?
Sure. Yeah.
I know we've already discussed this, but I see solar repairs for 26, 27. What do we need to do to speed that up? Cause I'm afraid that our cost is gonna be more for electricity than the benefit that we're putting off the cost.
Right, but 26 is July, so we're, and.
It's fiscal year, July, yes, okay.
And as soon as we have the security stuff in place, we can file the claim with Sederma and then we'll get money to fund those repairs.
Okay,
So it won't have to come out of our rate revenue.
Oh, I see you got security in there as well, yeah.
And that's gonna cover the rental and then hopefully the actual permanent solution that will come.
And we're gonna try it on one site because we don't wanna put it on other sites if it's not gonna work. So see if the heavily hit site,
The heavily hit and our main producer.
yeah.
Oh, new site generators, that comes to mind. I'm under the understanding that in California, you can't buy gas-driven generators as of January 1st.
These are diesel.
It's a deal. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Now, they extended that because of the fires and everything else that they find out we really need some generators. However, that concerns me. And you say, you know, I mean, how else are you gonna run a generator? What are you gonna do? Put up a windmill or a
Natural
battery
gas.
pack or natural gas? Well, those aren't allowed either. So,
Well, let's face it, there are things like
Zero
hospitals
emission.
and.
right, but you gotta have them.
Police
So,
centers, I mean, I think. I think
well, I
there's-
believe President Trump just signed a mandate to eliminate the electric
Right.
vehicle mandate.
I know
for-
California.
California-
follows.
California's gonna fall off.
California has already dropped its requirement that all diesel powered delivery vehicles be replaced with battery operated
oh,
vehicles.
I didn't,
Yeah, I
I
think
just
we're
know
pushing
that-
through.
Yeah,
So to that point, I do wanna ask a question of the board, like, I was reading about this and I don't know if a window opens where we can purchase some of these larger heavy duty vehicles like a backhoe that's not an electric backhoe. I think we might wanna consider doing what it takes to get those vehicles while that window is open in California.
Is the electric fleet mandate still in place?
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So if the window opens, I think we're gonna recommend, like, let's say there was a point in time where there's certain regulations in court get tied up and you might have an opportunity where you could buy those vehicles. Might behoove us to think about getting what we need
Of
when
course.
we can.
And we do have a vehicle replacement reserve.
Reserve, and so we might tap into that reserve. We'll be talking to the board about that, so be prepared if it comes.
that's fine. The heads up. So for people who are watching this later on or who are watching now online, the electric vehicle mandate is the state of California informing all utilities that all other vehicles, including bulldozers and backhoes, need to be battery powered by a certain date. They keep kicking that down the road because it turns out that's actually technically very difficult to achieve. And in the meantime, they have allowed us to maintain our older vehicles so that we can continue to operate without buying vehicles that don't yet exist. So what we're talking about is getting, if the law is dropped or put to the side briefly, then we're going to take advantage of that and replace those vehicles that are in the worst condition.
I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea. But I'm so concerned about the generator.
And
because-
to clarify, they haven't fully let us use our old equipment. We've had to purchase new equipment because the older equipment prior to 2013 did not have DEF and different requirements that
Right.
California mandated, so we had to get rid of those pieces of equipment to replace them.
Unfunded state mandate.
Correct. So hopefully those go away, but who
And I'm
knows?
hoping the generator thing becomes permanent because they just gave it a hiatus because of the fires and everything else that are going on.
But I realized it
But it
didn't
really
work.
takes effect the first of the year, which means you shouldn't be, you can't buy a gas generated.
Right, and a
gas
battery
driven
pack,
generator.
which is what they're calling the new generators, are not generators, they're battery packs, and they have to be charged, and if you run out of
We could
grid
put some
power,
big cages up
you
there.
can't charge them.
We can all run in them.
So,
So we gotta get 15 minutes of power.
Yeah.
so this is the last slide, and I have a series of questions for the board, because this is something new that.
Alright,
The first thing I'd like Ty to comment on how much work this is, because that's gonna sort of play into how often we would update something like this for you. But I think the way we'd like to use this in the future is, as we develop the new budget, probably gonna see this, a similar type of presentation that says, here's kind of what we budgeted in, last year, this is what our new budget looks like, and we can explain like, hey, had to spend more or less. And you'll see a version of this as part of our, the approval of the future budget. And I want the board members to comment if that would be useful for them to sort of look at it in this fashion, prior to approving the future budget. And then, just general comments, whether this is useful, how often you'd like to see it, understanding, and after Ty can tell you how many hours he spent putting this together. So Ty, if you want to tell them, how long it takes you to kind of put this together, and then let the board members give us feedback on what they would like to see changed or.
It's not terrible. The initial setup was where most of the time took, but to update the numbers does take some time, and it would be hard to meet a finance committee date because you have the end of the month. And 2-3 days later, you already have the finance committee. That'd be kind of difficult to.
So I don't think we're recommending a monthly update to this, is what I think we're saying.
But if you wanna do like quarterly or
quarterly would be
something at a
good.
board meeting.
well, I have,
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. First of all, I like this.
Mhm.
I think you did a good job on this. It tells a lot. If you want to put a percentage of where we are column in, you can. I don't know if that's a big deal or
That
not.
would be helpful.
But also, I think that when I see this, I like it a lot in terms that we as a board could sit down and I think you have the very first sheet was a summation, correct? I mean, the very first slide was a summation, and you went down to the individual ones. I think that's pretty good for the board to say, regular basis, however you get it there, whether it's 1 month behind, it doesn't matter, as long as we know
Okay.
what year to date month it is. And I agree that having you prepare this monthly, I think is pretty difficult, maybe quarterly for the finance committee. And I'm not sure that it always needs to come to the board. If the finance committee sees some things that need questioning or something's wrong, we can bring it to the board. Another question is updating it. I take it all these numbers are somehow, when you get accounts payable are entered under some category number.
Yeah,
And then you pull all those together to do this.
yeah.
Once that's set up, as long as everything's paid and categorized correctly, it feeds into the system, or how does that?
So, no, I have to run a report and then I have to take the
You got a
information
manual, take
manually.
everything moved.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's the time consuming part.
yeah.
Okay. Can that be made in the long run, with,
We can
into
look,
an
but-
automatic type thing where it pulls it and just.
I've seen that done before. Jason, you can talk, that's a significant amount of programming, and you have to have
Yeah, especially
everything in a certain place, and it can be done. They did it in the DOD, but.
We can do it, the initial work
I'm
that.
not saying right away, maybe
yeah,
something,
the
a
initial work would
long-term
be
plan,
time-consuming.
that it makes your job easier,
Yeah.
because once everything is, because I'm sure that when an invoice comes in, it somehow is categorized. When somebody looks at it and says, this is what account number it goes under, and then it's paid.
It's worth a look, because I think the initial time investment to program it
Right.
would pay off in the long run of
Okay.
not having to do this every quarter.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think quarterly is plenty, and I think
Yeah.
presenting it to the finance committee, the board is not here to do your job. And tell you how to do your job. All we wanna do is see, what I wanna see is just where we're at,
Yeah.
what we need to change. In order to create the funds available for you to do the work that we need to do here at the districts.
I'm going to propose then, instruction to staff is that the update and prepare this for the finance committee on a quarterly basis, and that it be prepared and updated for an annual presentation to the board at the spring special workshop.
Yeah.
Is anybody,
No.
all right, so please consider that your instruction.
Okay.
And can we also as Jason said, in the long term, let's look at how we can make it easier.
Absolutely.
I tell them how to do
Yeah,
their
No,
job.
no,
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
talking frequency. Easier is better.
Um,
That raises, I agree, we don't need this monthly. It would. We could get done in an hour and,
Yeah.
we don't want that.
Yeah.
But then there raises the question, what do we do on the 2 other months that is there I like the idea, I like this format better than what we're seeing now in the, finance committee. Is there a summary or a way of, putting these into fewer categories and presenting this format? As opposed to going through the whole list of everything.
Did your first page have that?
I don't know if the
Summary
first,
of all these future, what I thought the very first page of this.
It didn't have the, I don't know if it had the dollar.
it just had the,
Categories.
yeah.
Oh, just had a category, yeah.
But pretty much what I give you on a monthly basis is the abbreviated categories.
Okay.
Where it's water supply, it's
Yeah, there's a
engineering.
number of pages of checks that have gone out, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but the actual abbreviations make 2 pages.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, but what we have is but the one line is the budget line as opposed to, that is the projected budget to date as opposed to what we have here is the budget.
oh, I
not
can put
budget
I
to
can
date.
put, I can add a column that just has the yearly budget on it too. So you'd have the yearly,
So add,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
Right,
yeah,
okay,
okay, that probably would do.
okay,
very
yeah,
good,
we'll do that.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right, anything else on the budget? All right, looking around the room, let's go to overview and presentation of our new GIS system and work order processing.
I'm gonna excuse myself a moment.
All right, so I'm gonna show you on the tablet, and I know it's gonna be hard to just.
Just a quick question, do we need to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and, we'll get 5-minute break. We'll reconvene at 10.
And Ron's probably the young.
Doing my best.
I think you need to throw pencil first.
Hey,
Jacqueline.
Director Griffin, Mr. Worth,
Please sit down. You
Years.
need the mallet, I mean, the.
Give him the hammer.
Give him the hand.
perfect, all right, thank you.
For the guy that she's replacing, that's like.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
I had to
But
switch.
what she had done is she's been our.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how everybody in the field sees it, and I don't have one for everybody, so I'm sorry about that, but.
Yeah.
So we are currently moving everything that we do in operations to a tablet or on the phone too. Where the daily production readings, the well readings, the maintenance logs, everything will be on a tablet centralized so that we can do our monthly reporting in an easier way. It used to be that when they would go out in the field, they would, on the old GIS system, they would go out, they would do their work, they would come back to the office. As the tablet didn't work well, they would put information in, and it, when they would put an item in, they'd have to put an item in, save it, go back in, put another item in, save it, a little bit cumbersome. So on the new system, just kind of give you an example. This is our whole system, if everyone can see it.
Yeah.
And then you can zoom in to any site. And drop a location, see all the information on it. You can see track maps, who owns it. You have work orders right here on the tablet. So when it brings it up. Go ahead and go on the
Online?
Yeah, and then I got them. There's not using them.
Pretty quick fetching.
Thank you. So when they go and they do their work and they go to do their parts, the parts list is there. They just check what they use, save it, and they're done. So it's about 50 times faster than the old
Whose
system.
software?
This is from Nobel. It's a Google Maps based system
Okay.
versus Esri.
Take note, our ads to say waiting for the presentation to start for some reason, despite the fact that that's showing.
That's not in the presentation. This is actually a live version of
Okay.
our GIS.
All right.
So are these networked or do they need to come back to?
When I go back into this presentation, it'll come back on.
Okay.
No, he means like if
But
they
when
put in
the
something in
workers-
the field, does
Oh,
it
there.
automatically?
Tablet.
Oh, yeah.
Does it have to be backbone based update?
If this is out in the field, if it's one of our cellular tablets, what they do, I get right away.
Okay.
So there are times in my office when they're out there working and my computer's just chiming away because they're doing work.
So are they all networked or? are they just-
There are a couple of tablets that are not cellular, that they have to come back within some sort of Wi-Fi range to update.
But it is automatic.
It is.
Once they get within range,
Once
they
they.
don't have to manually do it.
All right.
This one, so this is what I see in the office. This is the manager's view.
The managers. Not everybody gets that.
Only the
I
manager.
don't even.
It's in the name. So I'm a little proud of this one because it was our idea from the district. So, sorry, it's a little slow, but if you it responds, draw a rectangle. Let's say we did this whole street was our project. We draw a rectangle. Come on.
Oh,
It's still loading, huh?
still loading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, it's,
There you go.
all right. In the budget for next year to get a new computer.
You're using a used tablet from. the
Yeah.
field.
When I'm done unchecking these. You see all the lateral lines that were
Yeah.
done, I can then get a report. That will give me, I'm just gonna talk to them, I'm not waiting anymore, it'll give me the total cost of that project.
Yeah.
So all the labor that was done, so to speak to Stan's point, we have a capital project that our crew worked on. And go here, get everything they did, get a report, give it to Ty and say, this is what our fees were.
Wow. All,
Sorry, this-
all that information had to be input, all those, everything that's on.
Everything on
pipeline.
there was out in the field. They went on their tablet, they put in
Everything to
that,
be in-
what, who worked on it, what trucks were there, what equipment was there, what parts were used.
But how about the maps and everything else you have up here?
That was off our old system.
Okay, oh,
They
is able to
imported
pull it
yeah.
over, okay.
And this is layered over Google Maps?
Google Maps.
So it's like, Google Maps is sort of the base of it, and then our information, our GIS information that was
There it is, yeah.
ArcGIS type stuff got translated into this system. Am I correct if I remember right, Jason, like when you look at the map with the blue dots are where we
Those are,
have,
that's all
those
the
are
work,
completed work?
that's all the work that we've done.
And then the red dots are work yet to be completed, is
The-
that correct?
These red dots are where the people are.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so there's a whole way where we can track like everything that we've done, so we really have some great visuals of like, this is what we did in a certain time frame. You can. The visual ability to see what you're doing, what you have scheduled in the future was pretty cool when I saw the
It's
demo.
cool, and I'll say, it was a vast upgrade over our old system where we would put in some sort of, and Renee can speak to this as well, we put in some sort of request for a change of the system. And 6 months later, we still don't have that change.
Wow.
I called them about something that was going on, and 10 minutes later, it was fixed.
Yeah, and don't you guys now have the ability to do updates yourselves? Or you have to do a lateral or something?
Yeah, we can do that kind of stuff. The red lines, we're in discussions with the company about the best way to move forward about things in the system that, where it shows it drawn one way, but we know it's not that way.
Yeah.
What's the most economical way for the district to fix those?
Update them.
So,
Any way to upload photographs or pictures, I think?
100%.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah,
yeah.
You can
Offer
add
some
it
of
to
those to
any,
Mr. Neal too, if you
you
would.
can add it to any
Yeah.
work order.
yeah. So every work order they do, I've asked them to take a photo of what it was
And what
and the work was done.
Yeah.
So that we have the record of, if somebody called in, oh, you left it a mess or whatever. But let me see what it looks like.
Excellent.
Not that I know.
And you're still learning on it and progressing with it, or are you full operation?
We're still growing.
Done, Mr. President.
We're still
Thank you.
adding,
You're welcome.
as things come up, types of work being done, we're adding those in. Like I said, we're still working with water supply, to do the daily reads and add those in,
Right.
because we don't have the arsenic plants on there yet. So this is ever evolving.
We're also gonna be looking at adding in Springbrook integration. Where up front, if they have an on or an off order, they can do it up there and it sends it out to the
Oh, I
So
see.
the
field
the guys in the
services.
field won't have to come back to the office to get an on order, it'll be on their tablets.
We also are keeping track of asphalt patching when work is done. I can bring up a
Wow.
map that shows where it's done and I can run a report and I use that to give that to the contractor who we work with. So it makes it much easier to create maps and things. We were creating maps by hand, putting dots on
And
it.
it's worth mentioning. Staff went out and did this with no direction. Nobody asked them to do it. They just looked for a better way to do it. They came to me and said, hey, we think we can find a better way to fix this stuff, and I thumbs up, do it. It's amazing. These people are always thinking ahead and thinking of stuff, so, I get zero credit for this stuff, and the staff gets all the credit for always doing the right thing.
We give all the credit to the staff, not you, George.
Well, that's okay. I'm good with that too, but I like to point it out, like their proactive approach. I mean, it's what makes my job so easy.
So I'm gonna imagine that
Potentially irrelevant.
as you're replacing pads, they're all gonna be cellular,
Yes.
right? And I like the fact that you can tell where the crews are, so if there's an emergency, you can find them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is that it then? No, Jason.
That is it for that.
All right, item 3, any questions?
No, good job.
Yeah, absolutely, love the information. Review our first conservation as a way of life submittal.
This is gonna be a rehash of what I covered at the board meeting.
Okay, then it'll go by quick.
I think I added one more piece, but
So let me, clarification for people who are watching in the future or currently watching now. Conservation of a way of life is where the state legislature and the governor have mandated that you may not use more than 55 gallons of water per day per person. And that number drops over time to, I think the goal is what, 32 gallons per person per day?
42.
And that is for indoor use. There's also an outdoor component, which is still being worked. All right, thank you. Sorry for that, Renee. Thank you.
No, that's fine. So our first report was due January 1st of this year, which we submitted at the end of December. Not all the stuff that's eventually gonna be required for those reports is required yet. At this time, we have a few years to gather some information, and I'll show you one of the items they're looking for. For instance, evaporative cooler variance, the form for doing that is not available yet. And we actually don't really need it yet, which is good. Just to point out that there will be bonus incentives, so you can get more, basically more towards your objective, more water, for things like, recycled water usage, groundwater augmentation, that kind of thing. So thought I would point that out. Go ahead. So the software that we use right now to keep track of this is I haven't seen it.
There we are.
No,
Water view.
WaterView. And they have a annual report that's kind of automatically created, which I showed you at the last board meeting. So it shows you your current, under current, where it says 55 gallons per capita per day. And then the outdoor component of the evapotranspiration factor. So our objective is this year, currently 4,622 acre feet, where we are at 4,078. So we are at 72% of the objective, so we're definitely under the threshold.
Great.
And as we go forward, you know, to 2030 and 2035 will be good, but when we get towards like 2040, where it drops down even more on the outdoor component, as far as evapotranspiration factor, then we will probably be looking at making sure we can get some of these like evaporative cooler variants. Maybe by then we'll get some recycled water. I don't know. We would like to get that project going, so we can get even more for allowing for growth and stuff in the community. That would allow for that.
Okay.
We would get more usage. So we can go ahead and move on.
So the objective for 2040 would be 4,091 acre feet for the water district.
Go back. Then
Yes.
it was, no, it was 3,000 for 2040 is 3,389.
Okay,
But then it has the 20%. It's with the what's INI again, Jason?
Irrigable, not irrigated.
Oh, yeah, then they're gonna start, this 20% of the irrigable, not irrigated that they're gonna give you. So it'll be 4,091 is what it'll be. Yeah.
Now,
in
if the
20.
population grows, or if we
It'll go
do
up.
consolidation, so there's a double-edged sword here.
Yeah.
As we do consolidations, our belief is that there are people we will consolidate, who are going to have much higher use than the average person who's our customer today, which will drive our water use up, and they will have to learn to conserve as well, which will be obviously difficult for some of them.
Well, why do you say that, George? And the consolidation, I'm looking at those areas near, we're looking at consolidation now where they live and they're on a well system. I would think that those people are pretty conservative with their water use now. You don't see a lot of lawns out there, you don't see a lot of trees on those areas, you don't see a lot happening. So why do you suppose that when we consolidate, their usage is gonna be higher than normal usage?
So we looked at we had some numbers for some of the consolidations, and it said, this is how much they use per year, and we looked at the number of connections they had, and we did some quick math, and we went, they seem to be using more on average than, I think our average is what, like a
14. Are you talking about acre feet? 1,400 cubic feet a month is the average use.
Yeah, and then didn't we look at some of the other consolidations and sort of like, we had estimates of what their total pumping
400,
was?
500 gallons a day.
Yeah, so it was, so that was just sort of an average, so there's some people out there who we consolidated who are very good at conservation, but there are other people who are using higher amounts of water.
So what's the efficiency of the system itself? You have systems out there that are very, very old.
Yeah,
You might have
Well, we would-
leakage, you might have pumping, dumping, and there's all kind of things going on.
yeah, so we,
Yeah.
we were just looking at a very generic, they're pumping this much, they have this many connections, that's more than the average per connection that we're using currently.
They're assuming no losses in their system, it's
System of any
all
kind.
usage.
Right.
Yeah, and there could be massive losses that account for and other things, but it's something worth.
But in general, I think I agree with the statement that like when the groundwater authority brought up consolidating the area out, on where Director Saint Amand lives in that area.
Las
on
Flores
Las
and-
Flores and those areas, I would say that would be true to case there because people have farm animals,
Yes, it
they
could be
have,
there, yes.
a lot of
Right.
trees, and so if those were consolidated, I could see where the usage would be higher on consolidated, because they're using a well, they're paying electricity,
That's right.
and that's the only cost that they're anticipating, so if they have solar, they're gonna use as much water as they want to right now,
Right.
because they're not affected by a cost per foot.
Right, so if we add that population, we get a little extra water. One big concern in the state of the state allowance of these ADUs, so you now have. You know, we're dealing with this in sort of like some of the construction project. Now you have a big piece of property and lots of people have that here. You build an ADU. If you put that ADU on, the connection you currently have, and instead of, you know, we get credit for what, like 3.5 person per connection or something.
Yeah.
And then if you have 9 people living there because you now built an ADU and you got 4 in the house and 5 in the ADU or whatever, and you do these larger populations, we don't get credit for that increase in population and increase in water usage. So that's something we have to watch carefully. And I think we're trying to make sure that we have the right, requirements in place, that if you build these ADUs, you have to have a separate meter so that we can get credit for the number of people.
How about I see the multifamily units going in a number of places now. And are those individual meters that you're seeing, or a single meter for, what are you
Well,
seeing?
we're going through this right now because according to the law regarding ADUs, there are some types of ADUs that we cannot require certain connection fees and separate meters and stuff. So Jim's office is actually looking at some of the language of that.
East Niles is also dealing with this issue on the east side of Bakersfield.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a number, I can probably count.
'Cause they'll say-
a dozen more
they'll say, well,
multifamily units.
I'm building a duplex and an ADU.
You know,
We've been treating that kind of like a duplex, but if it falls under certain square footage, we can't require them to pay certain.
They're just
fees,
finished building
so-
one now, which is a 2 unit,
Uh-huh.
and right behind it, they're squeezing another
Uh-huh.
unit in, up there on
And
down.
they're allowed to do
And
that.
I'm just wondering, are those separate meters, 1 meter, whatever, okay?
Yeah, so the 2 things that'll help us, one is the evaporative cooler variance, which will give us a greater allotment over time. That's good, but, you know, I think our ultimate goal is to reduce the number of evaporative coolers, so, you know, that evaporative cooler variance will, over decades, shrink down. But the recycled water that if we build a recycled water project, credit that in, that's a credit that will always be there in perpetuity to allow us to have growth, and is one of the reasons why I think it's really important we keep focusing on that, because that is our long-term future.
Does the city know that? I have a note here that this is good stuff to bring to Ron Strand or the city, saying, not only do we want to work with the recycled water, but here's another reason. Are they aware of this?
Yes, I showed them this very chart, actually.
Okay, exactly. And then the other question that I have is on the conservation for swamp coolers, and maybe I'll leave this to the end because this might close out the conversation. I'll just hold off on that, Mr. President.
Okay. All right. Very
I
good.
had another couple slides with this. I think this is what I showed, or this is what was reported this year, so, they have like your residential, indoor, outdoor, actual, and then you have your actual column, and then you have your water use, urban water use objective column, and these are all in acre feet, so. Like system water loss that we reported this
Right.
year, they take that into account, so we're a little over what they would like for an objective, so then you have a sum of where we're at 4439, water use objective is 4881, so yes, we are within that, objective there, so it's right at the very bottom, it has the summary of that, so. Good for this year, and I think my next slide just shows
Well,
some
hang
of
on
the
for a
things.
second, Renee, what's the
Oh.
excluded demands?
You know, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Is that a commercial and industrial aspect? I think it is. And the
Obviously-
watering of grass, that seems about the right,
It might be,
It adds into
because I
your,
know that they
it's
don't,
interesting, the actual though, and the objective is the same number.
and the last question I have about this, and when you say a year, what year? Is it a
This
fiscal
is
year?
a fiscal year, we are gonna be required in the future, they're gonna force us to go to calendar
Or
year.
do a fiscal year?
Yep,
Okay, all right,
Okay.
right now, this is like 23, 24.
okay.
One quick question, so how does this relate to, as George mentioned, the industrial, but did schools, college, hospital, are they included in that number? They're
Yes,
not, correct?
they are in that number.
They are in that number.
I think the next slide will be, help you understand that a little better.
Yeah, eventually, we're gonna have to break things down, our CII users, as you can see, this are the categories
Oh,
that
okay.
they're eventually gonna
Wow.
want us to put everything in. Yeah,
How many of these did they have? There's like 80 or 90 in total.
Retail,
there's a lot. This is just a
Yeah,
like
so
a snippet of.
Yeah, this isn't the whole list. This is just a sample of,
office.
you can see they have like,
Wow.
at the bottom, we got like 4 different kinds of
How are we
car
gonna do
washes.
this?
I have no, cause we're gonna have to go through each individual
Car washes.
commercial
Laundry.
account
Yeah,
and
churches.
create a code and assign it to it
Right.
and.
And let's all be clear on why the state would do this. That means
Because they're
they collect that data so they can put limits on all of these users as well. That is the clear reason they're collecting this data. 'Cause they-
Holy man. This is
So
part of
that means
Yeah, it will
as we
be. We have
move
a couple
towards the
years to go.
future, these will turn into things and then a car wash can only have this much water and this guy can have that much water. They're collecting that data to make further cuts.
Look at car wash, standalone, vehicle, convenience store, repairs, meaning.
But the problem with that is that the limit's gonna be put on us, not on
Right.
the individual users. I mean, how do we, just like in the residential, no residential is going to be fined. It's gonna be the water district if we go over our allotment.
Yeah, and so you can't predict the future, but you can say like, they're gonna go through and find the most efficient car washes in the state and say, everybody needs to meet that standard who has a car wash. And if you have a car wash that's over that, they'll say, well, water district, it's your problem to figure out how to make them get to the new standard.
I'm always worried
That's
about
how they
the
always.
state. What I'm worried about is, how do we do this?
Well,
That's
yeah.
huge.
Well, you budget for paying the fine in the future.
That's what you do.
Because it's cheaper ultimately to pay the fine than it would be to institute meters on every
You'd
single
have to have
nozzle
meter
out in town.
identification numbers,
I agree
which gather
100%,
into a
yeah.
group. I mean, good lord.
Or we vote in
You
new
also have
office.
Small
people into
restaurants
office in
and
the
big
state of
restaurants,
California.
and
Can you
if
imagine what
they
it would be
base
like
everything
for,
on a
like,
small
LED
restaurant, these
pieces?
guys.
Yeah, there are already water districts that are looking at paying fines rather than
Yes.
complying with the
Well,
regulation.
we saw that at the Aqua.
Yeah.
One of them said, we're just pay fine.
Yep, it's right cheaper.
Well,
I'm
and at the end of the
surprised there's
day,
not a DEI category.
you know,
The people in our town have conserved water. The
Yeah,
town does not even look good because they've conserved so much water
yeah.
and just it's to be mandated by the state.
We're under 5,000 acre feet a year.
should tell the state, this is your idea, this is gonna cost us tons of time and man hours. So give us some money and we'll get busy, otherwise you're not gonna do it. If you know, you're supposed to pay for unfunded mandates, the state's supposed to cough up for.
Renee, just for me, if you don't mind, can you shoot me a copy of what this list looks like on my email sometime or another? I just wanna see it. I wanna look it over and, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Don't let Sharon get all of it.
No, she'll be.
Is there anything else on this slide?
No, sir.
Oh.
So is that it then for the report? Thank you so much. Appreciate
Good
that.
job.
So,
Yes, go ahead.
I want to talk about conservation, swamp coolers versus AC.
Okay.
You know, one thing that comes to mind, I've been talking to people about it, and this might be for your use as well, is I think the question needs to pose to the GA. They come up with all this money and looking for grants to do something. I mean, if we were to be able to walk up to somebody who presently has swamp cooling and say, okay, we have found money that's gonna put not only your split system in, depending on size and amount we could do, it's also gonna provide for some money for solar. Of course, people jump all over that. Hey, solar with a split system, great. I mean, if you look at the $50 million that's going into, just for instance, that's they've got on this the Werder grant, and that was put to, I don't know if they can, but that kind of money, if you put that kind of money to this, you could probably just about give split systems and solar panels to all these people that have swamp coolers, and you save 1,500 acre feet a year roughly. So it's just a thought that comes to mind. I don't know, Chuck, how you could reach that with them at all, but if, you know, I don't know what it would cost to go to let's say an average home of 1,500 square feet to 1,700 and say, okay, split system, solar, it's gonna be X amount of dollars, and I'm assuming it's probably gonna be, it's called $50,000, maybe much less. Think how much you could do for $50 million.
Depends on the house size.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that it's a possibility. So I'm just bringing that for your good, because it's a question, because don't forget, part of their plan included conservation.
Correct. No, and I understand, I agree with that. Mr. Neal brought up a good comment last month that I really hadn't thought about because I've been a big advocate for switching.
Yeah.
Looking for grants for going to mini splits and AC, so the solar is important.
Yeah,
Because a lot
Right.
of people can't afford the electricity
yeah,
for this, for
the combination.
to run the combination,
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
no, I agree with you.
Maybe you might, maybe think about, I think I've seen it happen once in the past, is contact a couple of the AC guys around town and ask them to come in and say, for an average, whatever, pick up square footage, size house. And then you might have to get them to couple with solar, installer and give you a number, say, here's what it cost us to put in,
We asked them to do that once before.
plus solar, enough solar to run that, or additional solar to add on to existing solar system.
I don't think staff brought Michael's in, or somebody came in one time, and we asked them the same thing, is there a way that you could put together a chart or something based on square footage, here's the power consumption, to give us a comparison, they've never done it.
Well, I just did it at my shop and I have many splits put in
Okay,
with a solar system.
And you know your water
I'm less
use
than
and power use
26,000
to run the
for the
swamp
whole
versus-
system, less
so you
than
know how to do
26.
well, give
With
him
no
all,
electric bill.
give him all of them, and let him put the chart together. for us.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not that much money when you look at the
Right.
cost, if you're uptaking, for instance, you said the 50 million, you divide it across
Right,
as a grant,
yeah,
so.
Okay,
okay.
any other questions on the conservation as a way of life? So let's go ahead and go to meter replacement program, item 4.
Oh, I guess that's me. Just kind of give you a breakdown of where we're at on the meter replacement program. So the system has approximately 12,000 meters. And the meters, they last roughly 20 years. I think that's the warranty on the new ultrasonic. So to replace all the meters within a 20-year period takes about 600 meters a year. The replacement cost per meter is up to $450. It's between $400 and $450 depending on how long it takes. Sometimes we can get them done in 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes if we have to vac out all the sand and do repairs.
So I was
to
gonna
the
ask,
stuff.
30 minutes, seems very
Yeah.
aggressive.
15 to 20 is my, they still vacuumed out.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
So that $450 includes the new meter, field service techs and trucking equipment. So breaking that down to 600 meters requires about $270,000 a year. This year we budgeted 100,000. We're gonna use that assessment district money to offset the
Right,
rest
yeah.
and get those out in the field. So that's kind of where we're looking at with this meter replacement program.
How many meters do the assessment? Per
1,100,
1,100, so that'll carry you for a few years.
a couple years, yeah.
Yeah,
Will you be able to look at the positive benefits from this and show us what we're getting back? Because you mentioned some of these are not accurately.
Right,
reported.
right. We've taken some of the older meters, because we have some in the system that are like 50 years old. We took them and just to get a kind of a rough number, we sent them off to our repair guy meter testing. And they were reading at like 60% accuracy.
so you could say an average is maybe
Probably around
80%
80%, you know, yeah.
80%
Yeah,
loss.
they don't fill and read on the wrong side, they
Yeah.
fill
Yeah.
and they read on the bad side,
It was
so.
given free.
yeah,
And that's what we
they're not
try,
spending.
we try to tell people, well, there's no way I use that much
No,
money.
they
I
don't
want my
fail.
meter
They
tested.
fail
It's
the
like,
other way.
it's not gonna go the
Gonna
way
be
you
low
want
or
it
something,
to. Yeah.
Even on the new ones that we saw the chart that the ultrasonic seller showed us that even on the new meters at the really, really low end, the accuracy is still not that good. It's like 60% accuracy on the
Right.
really low end versus the ultrasonic, which is 99% accurate.
Even
Yeah.
low flow.
Because you're
Even at
flowing,
really,
Low
like,
flow,
Yeah.
minuscule
It
flow.
gets that low flow.
So there's a payout here, just like
there's a
Director
major
Boyd was asking.
There is.
So if you were to say, and I'm just doing the WAG thing, an average of 25% loss of revenue,
Mhm.
and you look at our total revenue, that's a lot of money you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
It is,
It's a,
yeah.
it pays this investment.
Well, actually, it's more than that, because by the way, I really appreciate this. 'Cause, that meter replacement is half of what I thought it would be. And right now, what I've been told is we're between 500 and 600 acre feet loss a year, with a high percentage of that being meter loss.
Yeah,
Well, 500 acre feet,
yeah,
at $2,000 an acre foot, that's $1 million. I
yeah.
mean, that's a lot of money,
Mhm.
per year, and it seems to me that it might behoove us to accelerate for 3 or 4 or 5 years, looking at the oldest meters and trying to get the oldest meters out of the system. Because, you know, right, we could lower, $1 million off of our replenishment fee would be a big help. And not only that, but it'd increase our revenue. But it's a water district revenue as opposed to money that we pay.
Yeah, you're right. The replenishment fee is not paid off what the meters pump out. I mean, it's an overall meter that you're looking at.
That's what- yeah.
It's from
So,
last
oh,
year.
yeah,
Our
so yes, I
mag
think-
meters at the well are, like 99.9% accurate, so we want these to be as close to.
As accurate as possible. But I think the choke point is here is what can our tech accomplish? I mean, yes, it'd be nice to double this,
Right.
but how much can our techs literally get done?
Six hundred is what we can do.
It's
I mean, that's 20 a week.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's well, it's a matter of priorities, obviously.
Dan, you mentioned loss, and as far as the fire department, they don't hook up with any meters, so that goes into our loss, right? And when they flush, what about the city? Are they using a meter when they?
As far as I know, they are, aren't they? They have like you mean when they do their street cleaning?
Yeah, with everything with their street sweepers and all that, or?
Don't they have a construction meter?
They fill up in their yard a lot of times, which is on the other side of their meter.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
just curious if any of that was included or if that was, but I know the fire department, so there's quite a bit of loss there because they go out and routinely flush and.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you gotta quantify that, if the
Correct.
total loss is an acre foot, it's a lot of
I
water.
don't think fire department flushes. I know they go out and they kind of lube the thing and, make
They
sure
check
everything
the
works.
belts and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for firefighting itself, yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
the
but
meter.
that's not a high number.
They do flow testing every so often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they flow test them.
Okay, so for a process check, we're now 1.5 hours into the 3-hour meeting. Is there anything else on the meter replacement program that anybody wanted to discuss?
Or you better just brace yourself for more complaints, people are gonna go, why do my usage go up?
Well,
Yeah, that's already happening.
On the
They
flip
get
side,
letters.
on the flip side of it, to think about it, that on these older meters, people have leaks that they don't even know about because it's not moving the disc along.
Yeah.
These new meters will tell people, even on a small leak, that they have one.
Oh, well, be sure you tell them that when they complain.
Okay, I'll give them your number.
Before we even change the meter out, we send them a letter to let them know.
And we tell them that
Yeah.
may result in an increased
Mhm.
accuracy on the
There you
reading.
go.
Your message is received, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that, yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
anything else on this one?
No.
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to item B, staff goals. General manager.
Okay, basically, I just wanted to start out with telling the board, first year I had a lot of focus on just understanding the water system, getting to know the staff, understanding what's going on with the GA. This year, my priority, you can tell, is sort of the financial stability to make sure that we are good into the future. Hopefully you see some of those efforts in this meeting, but that's sort of one of my big focus areas for this year. Also to continue our opposition to the imported water pipeline project, particularly ensuring that if it were to ever come, that it does not connect to our system, for a number of reasons, and I really want to focus on moving forward with our initial design and sort of conceptual studies on a recycled water project and really get seriously moving. Those are the 3 big rocks that I see myself working on this year and trying to move forward with. If there's some other direction the board wants to give me, this is your opportunity.
Well, you gotta get that engineering firm off there. We would be talking about for 4 or 5 years, you and I.
They're rocking and rolling. We had a
Okay.
meeting last week. Any comments from the board for me?
No.
Okay, conservation, we're really gonna focus on the public outreach events, the home show, the economic development, we'll be attending there, and, we wanna get our name out, I also wanna really get serious about gathering the data on these evaporative coolers, cause we've sat and talked about some numbers, but as Jason knows, there's a fairly complex set of procedures you need to go through to really define what that evaporative cooler variance would give us. And I think the reason I put this into conservation is because not only do we want the variance from California Conservation's Way of Life, we really want a good solid target about how much these evaporative coolers are using in our system so that we know what our target is. And we can sort of put dollar figures to say like, this is what we would need to invest to save this much water. And that includes, what was discussed about looking at how much these, systems with, solar panel power would cost. So that's kind of our focus on conservation for this year.
Are the major businesses in town like Walmart and Home Depot, et cetera, those are evaporative, right? Or
No,
No,
they're-
they're mostly AC.
Okay.
What on Home Depot?
The Home Depot has the swamp cooler outside, but they're refrigerated inside.
okay.
Ace Hardware in town. is
There's
also-
one thing I'd like you to do
Yeah.
while you're doing your research is, have someone look for grants for conversion from swamp coolers to AC. We can start, if there's grants available, I'd love to get in on that one early. And we have customers who are, fixed income or who are elderly, who are relying on swamp coolers. And in August, inside the house is about like Florida outside the house. And it might be better for health and safety if we could help convert them over to AC so that they don't have to rush out to the cooling center at City Hall.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and I do wanna,
We've looked-
this isn't necessarily on my slide, but it was something that, so the Navy has kindly sent me a link to a number of various federal grants that they're aware of.
So you're already on this then?
I will say that I'm a little bit on it, but I think at some point, we might need some professional help in that area to really understand, how to put these together, where are the real opportunities, which ones are oversubscribed and you never get money from, which ones really have an opportunity, and
Okay,
I think we'll probably at some point come to the board and say, we need someone who does this for a living, goes out and finds that money. And,
Chuck, doesn't your group look at grants as well? Not like
there's
this?
some specialty groups
Okay.
that really keep their thumb on
Okay.
the pulse of this kind of thing.
yeah.
I think
So-
this could carry over to
Writing
recycled
up
water too,
grants.
because there are grants. out
Yeah,
there.
so,
Yeah.
and that's sort of a holistic thing. It's
You're
gonna
right.
cover not just evaporative coolers, but recycled water, project funding, and that's gonna be it's a big one.
And we may be mostly at the federal level. I just believe that California, a whole lot of grants and things are gonna dry up real fast. Because of the fire issues and everything that's going on with the reservoirs and all the money to be forced to be pumped into that stuff. I think that the federal level is where we need to look. And health and safety is a big one. That was a good advice.
I know recently, I think it was the Bureau of Rec that was putting money into
Yeah.
recycled water projects.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Jerry.
Just a heads up.
Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you. Capital improvements.
Nope. Did we
No,
skip
no.
over?
Yeah, we skipped over that. I'm sorry. I thought I'd delete that one. Sorry, engineering.
We're doing engineering next.
We've done finance.
Or it'll be, are they just out of order?
Yes.
Okay,
They're just
engineering
out of
then,
order.
go
All
ahead.
right, we'll go to engineering. So as a department, we've got these 3 grant-funded projects that are gonna keep us busy, coming up. Also, we're really gonna prioritize updating our drawings and specifications. It hasn't been done in over 10 years, so. Well,
Is it really?
yes, 2012 was when we last did it, so. Time flies. And our associate engineer, his big, thing this year is getting his PE, so
Nice,
he's,
good.
he's ready to get those tests done, so.
This is an investment the district is making
Yes.
to help him go to some specialized classes to help him pass, and that's an investment in our future, and thank the board for supporting those things. These are really important to us.
Yeah, they supported me when I was going through it, and now we're supporting our last engineer, and, yeah. We've got some awards of contracts coming up, you'll see next month, we've got our pavement patching coming up again. And a new master service agreement for all of our well and booster work. It worked out well last time we did it for 3 years. And so we're gonna try to do that again, we just go out and we get their prices. And, we ended up putting 2 contractors on contract. And so whoever could get to it first is what we went with, and, cause we will have some upcoming, well maintenance work that needs to be done, rehabilitations and stuff like that, so. It's always good to have someone you can rely on and call and know what it's gonna cost already,
Any questions?
The only question I would have is we hear more and more talk about well locations.
Mhm.
Is there future plans in engineering maybe to reposition a well because of cones of depression, things like
No.
that? And there's nothing in the future on that, okay?
No, that we're not pumping as much in town as we used
Yeah,
to, so those cone depressions we used to have, those
Okay.
wells you actually see come up.
We need
have been
we
coming
need
up.
to advertise that.
I would be curious what the reading, the static levels are right now at 17 in some of those areas, because I'm sure we had to have.
30 and 31 has come up.
They've
Yeah,
come up.
they're
I
200-ish.
figured they would have.
Really?
Yes. Whereas you go in the southwest, it'll, the groundwater levels drop anyway, so you're like 400 feet out there.
Well,
so
I think as soon as we get the model done,
Yeah,
we'll be able to use that model to figure out, where we're not pumping enough, or where we're pumping
Okay.
too much and that kind of thing. So
see if
that
there's any
model
need to move.
should be
yeah.
good for a lot of things, and we need to use it for stuff like that.
future planning.
Renee brings up a good point, as little as we're pumping compared to that 9,000 plus we used
Oh,
to
yeah.
do. All those cones have shrunk quite a bit, yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, next slide, please. Finance.
Last chance to ask a couple more questions.
I think you've heard enough.
This has
from
been a tie meeting, you know that.
Yes.
I just want to say,
I like this.
again, what a good job you've done on the presentation, what you've done, really, really appreciate it.
Carry on, next slide, please.
We've already covered this, I don't need to-
Water supply.
Some of the things that we accomplished this last year was the installation of the automatic valves at 18, 30, and 31. Like I said, that those wells don't have enough back pressure to run the clay valves. Putting these valves in will allow the operators to not have to run out every time the power glitches. And we gotta bring the well back online. Repair of the VFD at RC Plant 2. And the upgrade of the solar wind server, which we just accomplished last week.
And what is that for?
SolarWind server monitors the SCADA network, the radio network that overlooks the SCADA system. So it's kind of the network nanny, if you will, of this, and it shows us what lines are on and if they're having trouble dropping packets, stuff like that.
Well, we're glad it wasn't the one that was running the upgraded GIS system.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that.
system.
That's in the cloud.
System.
That is not. No, the SCADA system is in the water supply office. And we have a redundant server at another location. So coming up, we have to replumb the old gateway tank before the coating, which the board just approved. We have to make the repairs and security upgrades for the NG solar. The RC plant media that we talked about needs to be replaced at plant 2. And we continue to work on our GIS improvements. And then some of the major capital projects is. So the RCH pumps, we no longer have pumps available. We've used the last one put in. So with the understanding that we were going to upgrade that booster station. But that's a couple years out now, so that's on the horizon here that we need to look at that. Yeah, it's getting old up there. C-zone replumbing before we get to, so when the new tank was put in service, there was supposed to be a line that interconnected those tanks. That was on the plans, one size, but turned out to be different, so rather than pay the contractor to do a change order, the district has decided that we will do the work in-house. So we will be installing that new line. And then investing in radios for an event of emergency. We have a couple handheld radios, but we want to make sure that the system is up and running should the need arise during the earthquake, the communications was paramount, so.
Okay. Questions? Right, next slide, please.
Continue to replace outdated main lines. We still have a few 4-inch ones out there. You saw the Karen and Gold Canyon on there. So there's some 10-inch steel lines. We estimate there's about 12 main lines that need to be brought to district standard. Continue to work ahead of city paving projects. We have the Rademacher and hometown consolidations. We want to get rid of all the AC asbestos cement pipe that's stored at the well 8 compound that we're never going to use. Research new valve turning equipment. We have a new backhoe on the schedule a new vacuum trailer and we would like to try, if we can get it together, tackle Springer mainline in-house.
So
Wow,
can you speak,
Wow.
can you,
that's big.
can you speak a little bit to like, you know, how we're moving into the future with maybe, you know, what the structure of a construction crew would look like? I think we may want a couple of new positions that would support that.
Yeah, so currently we have a maintenance supervisor, 2 techs, and then 7 gentlemen underneath them. We would allocate some of the maintenance workers to go over. We'd have a new construction supervisor, a construction tech, and then 2 construction workers underneath them. So I want to run it with a current staff and see what we need going forward. You know, because I don't want to, what we don't want to do is create positions and then find out we don't need them and then cut positions. So I'd like to kind of work with what we have and then analyze and see if there's any other positions that maintenance needs from me taking away people.
Right, yeah.
And how big I think there was a discussion like certain, above a certain size, we probably still would go contract. Is that above? Well,
We talked about 1624 because that's what Springer is. That would be our test. Like if we rented an excavator and
Okay.
we're able to put the 24 in, we could see if we could do it.
Okay, that would be, that means we could do pretty much anything that comes to that.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
It was, I worked here in the 90s and we had a construction crew and a maintenance crew and 4 people were on each crew and we could put in mainline and handle it, and I think it'd be good to do here. I think it'd save a lot of money.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
It would
our
not-
construction crew wouldn't take our used pipe and just put it in the desert.
You would never know about it. No,
Pick up your house.
yeah. But, one of the other ideas that you speak to, George, is that if something happens on a construction crew,
Yeah.
I tell them to get this thing done. I don't have to wait for
Yeah, there's all this
legal back and forth.
Yeah,
of a
we don't need
contract.
Jim to write letters.
What happened in the past?
Yeah.
What happened in the past that resulted in us not being able to do this in-house?
We lost 9 positions.
Was that during the time when we were?
2011, we had a reduction in force.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the crew that was cut out, that was completely eliminated.
So for clarification, for those who are watching today and who might watch in the future, that was when the water district charged basically only for water usage.
Yes,
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was, that, they weren't pulling enough money in to maintain staff size. There was a massive reduction in staff and capability, and as also the reason why we have a ready to serve charge so that we don't encounter that problem again in the future.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
lost about 1/3 of the staff.
Yeah, that's
third.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you lose them, they're gone. They're gonna find another job. They're not gonna be waiting around for us to call them back to work. So you can't let that, you have to avoid that.
And then your overall costs go up because you have to,
Train them, get them.
well, and you have to pay for
Yep,
outsourcing your
in
projects.
the meantime.
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you. All right, anything else? All
Oh, we need Chris. Let me get him.
right,
Talk amongst yourselves.
What's after this?
He's gonna spend that extra
Oh.
$3 when he comes in here, you know that.
Admin?
all right, admin.
Admin.
Is that your?
You're on.
Lauren?
Oh, there we go.
So, this year we have the District of Transparency Certificate of Excellence and the District of Distinction Reaccreditations through SDLF. Those are due this year, so I'm gathering all the information and working on the application. We have to submit it by May because it's due in June. So I'm working on that. All board members have ethics and anti-harassment training due this year, and I do send out the reminders. Oh, staff continues to remain up to date on the guidelines of AB 1757, the accessibility internet for internet websites. The district was using Adobe Acrobat to make the PDFs ADA compliant. However, with the new requirements, Adobe does not meet all the requirements.
Wow.
So we are currently looking for software or a system or some type of remediation for our PDFs on our website.
I'm just talking there, what makes it not compliant?
So if somebody with a disability were to go on our website right now, the PDFs aren't compliant, so they can't read it to them, they're not,
Oh, I see what you're saying. The system won't be able to
Converting
converse, not
Yeah.
necessarily converse, but read it to them. And
exactly.
PDF doesn't, I mean,
It does not.
yeah, they have to.
And then, do you want me to take the last two since I added those in?
I think she's doing a good job.
Oh, and the last thing is, we're continuing to remain current on changing laws. We're attending a webinar next week on new laws. And we are taking items to the board next month that require changes in our job descriptions. So that's gonna be going to the board next month, just trying to remain current on all the law changes.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Yeah, and so I added a couple bullets there, you know, this is a general manager's perspective, you know, as we move towards this construction crew. You'll probably hear in the next meet, at the next board meeting or the board meeting after that, that we're gonna ask to add an additional temporary position for someone to mark utilities. We've had a retirement, several people within the district moved up, left us with a need. So we'd like to get that person on board. I think we also are eventually gonna need someone to be an inspector in-house. We wanna get that position. That'll also be supporting the construction crew. So those are things that you will be seeing over the course of time. And that's, you know, sort of my comment. We've already talked somewhat about this and Jason's talked about it, but you'll get more details as we move forward, but there will be some additional positions that we'll be asking for authorizations. Talking to Ty, that's not gonna fit into this year's budget, so at the earliest, it won't happen until we get a FY 25 budget, and you'll probably get a chance to comment on whether you would want to authorize it in that process.
2025 budget or
26,
26? Okay,
Sorry, 26. I'm still on the government budget cycle, my problem.
I just wanna make one comment. I would have disagreed with adding a temporary person to mark utilities because of the importance of it, but now with this new system that I've seen that you guys have,
Well,
I would not have a problem with it, so I would support because it.
Well, I appreciate that, but let me explain. So the idea of the temporary person would serve as labor on maintenance. and we
Okay,
would
then
pull a
you pull
maintenance person.
somebody out.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I just want to compliment Lauren, because keeping up with federal laws, especially state laws and regulations that affect our personnel, and everything from HR to administration, keeping up with that, you know, a lot of credit goes out because you got to keep up with things. I know about it. I've been involved with it. And also keeping the board in line too. The Form 700s and the people who haven't done ethics yet, and, you know, she won't let up.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Remember, we gotta submit it within 5 days.
Why do you point it to?
Oh, Lord.
I just looked at Dave.
Yeah, I noticed that. Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's go back to IT then, if there's nothing else on this.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
Appearance.
I know.
Alright, so last year we left off with, one legacy domain controller that has been upgraded. We consolidated 2 file servers, one of which was, well, they were both legacy. We're now updated on that. So the whole network is supported and updated. We virtualized the network, which consolidated to 3 physical servers. Sorry, I had to turn one back on.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, we have 3 servers running. There was like 8 total when I got here. So a little electricity savings there.
Does the board understand what virtualization of a server is?
Yes,
Okay,
I do anyway.
all right.
And we started working on the network, installed a fiber optic backbone with the help of the water supply group,
Renee, let's get it.
and installed new network switches. So there's a 10 gigabit network backbone now.
Nice.
Wow.
Which is a big change. And we have an offsite tape backup now. So if anything were to happen with the building, we could go recover all of our infrastructure from a tape. It would be a really bad day and we'd be walking around with clipboards and pencils, but
Okay,
get back up.
inconceivable.
You still got
No, it's
$3.
not.
Having seen what happened in LA.
All right.
It'd
You
be
still got
it'd be
$3 in his
nostalgic.
budget to buy pencils.
Great.
so-
Yeah.
You almost
I
expected.
knew that $3 was there for something.
Carry on, Chris.
So, upcoming goals would be to do a little remodel of the server room. There's carpet in there and every time you touch a server, it takes a shock.
Oh,
That's
really?
not good. Maybe put a new table in there, a couple things like that. I would like to get a backup server that has solid state hard drives instead of mechanical. Our backups to take about a day.
Yeah.
Lead. It's a lot of data. And last but not least, our Ethernet cabling to all of the workstations is original to the building, so it's from the 1990s.
Yeah.
Early 1990s. It's Cat 5, so it doesn't support the newer network speeds. I would like to have new cables run to the workstations. So that's all.
So why don't you go ahead and discuss for people who are online or future viewers what the virtualization in a nutshell
No,
is?
I mean, we brought Chris in, so Chris.
So, virtualization, you can have one physical server and run multiple virtual servers on it. So the old theory was one server for one machine. You can run multiple machines on one now.
So, and to
So
help
if
people,
one physical computer, and it can if you have the proper software, it can actually run a Unix
100%.
server and a
Linux,
Windows server, so
Windows.
you can, right?
yeah, multiple operating systems.
That's it.
Wow.
So it's called a hypervisor. That's the main server, and then the virtual servers don't know they're virtual either.
It's just a quick question. So the federal government is talking about mandating the removal of certain information technology networking equipment that was manufactured in a foreign nation, which shall go unnamed at this time. Do we have any such equipment you're aware of, or do you
Not that I
aware of the
know.
list? All right, very good.
Yeah, I think I know which manufacturer you're talking about.
Okay.
Last year I did talk about a Wi-Fi upgrade. We're still gonna look into that. Directions shift as the year goes on.
And go ahead, Director Kaczynski.
Well, yeah, well, you get your thoughts together. On your plans here, the server room remodel, I think the backup is probably one of your most important. Those mechanical backups, like you say, with the tapes are horrible.
We have a good system now. It just takes a long time, so it's not a big deal. It's working fine. It's less than 5 years old. We have plenty of storage. It's just the length of time it takes to complete one.
Yeah, that's.
It would be a nice to have thing more than anything.
Are you looking, what is the estimated cost? Do you have an idea what the backup server?
One that would be quick is about $20,000.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So regular backups are an important issue. We have problems with, we're going to have problems with, trying to protect our network and our data from people who are hacking for amusement, hacking for, malicious intent, and people who are going to try to institute, malware on the system so they can blackmail the water district. So we need to be able to recover from that, because I won't vote to pay money to any blackmailer. If we have to start from scratch, that's what we're gonna have to do, because you can't pay them or you just encourage them. So I just wanted to emphasize that I feel that IT security is a paramount. And I'm sure you're tackling that, but I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
You can ask any of the end users. We take security seriously here. We practice the 3-2-1 of backup, so we have 3 copies, 2 different types of media, 1 offsite. So
Okay,
if we were to have an event, it would be terrible, but there would be.
We are
recovery
recoverable.
path.
all right, thank you.
And we are working towards physical solutions to protect the system from that even happening.
I just wanna make a comment. I struggle to hear Chris say we need, or we would like to have, just like I hate to hear it from the back that this is one of our requirements. That makes me feel like as a board, we're not doing what we need to do to ensure that the district is ran right. Working here, I know what happens in the back and I know the frustration level that comes, so. Chris, I would like to see, especially, I mean, you mentioned having the floor redone in the server room because there's a spark. Well, the spark's not good. So this is stupid stuff that we as a board should be able to take care of. Whatever changes we have to make to do that, with it being the new rate study that's coming out, we need to ensure that our employees have what they need to do the job they need in the most affordable fashion, but to make sure that it's done properly and safely. And I agree that the IT security, which I don't know a whole lot about, but it's important, And we do not want to get hacked. We don't want to have an issue. So what, I think whatever we need to do as a board to provide that, we need to get done.
If I may summarize my esteemed colleagues'
Thank you.
comments. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Things like the removal of the carpet and replacement with a non-static floor is something that the board is more than happy to see have done. So I know this is your big opportunity to bring these things forward during the year, but if something pops up that is something that's very valuable and it's not a major effort, please feel free to bring it to the board and make sure if it's a little bit larger that it's in the budget. That's it. Did I cover
Thank
that
you.
for you? You're welcome.
Like, President, I want to say I appreciate that because there will be some things that are needed, analyzers out back that we have been like scheduling out that we need to get now. So you'll see that in the next budget.
And I think the process for that would be, let's take to see the plant equipment. From there it goes to finance, because we got a blessing from all those. And then that could come to the board at that point.
Yeah.
As a recommendation.
Absolutely.
So we're not.
There's no,
tying up the board.
you don't have to wait yearly to
Yeah.
get.
No,
Right, you're
if we
absolutely
need
right.
something, we need to get it done
Yeah.
and get it handled.
You know, given the status of the California's electrical
Oh,
grid,
God.
what's our strategy for, and how much time do we have for non-interruptible
Yeah.
power supply?
The servers have about,
We can run 45 minutes
45
on
minutes.
both the SCADA system and the
Okay.
IP network.
That's enough for
More
a
than enough time
soft,
to do backups.
for a soft.
Yeah,
landing
yeah,
for
We
the
have a
servers.
generator. for the-
But when we went down last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a power outage.
Yeah.
We used our generators
the
then.
generator kicks on automatically.
Yeah, and then at the wells, I'm sure we
We
ran a few of
dispatched
those.
somebody who got the generator on just in time for the power to come back on.
But we know it's running and we know it's capable.
Well done.
so.
And they test the generators every month too. Make sure they
Okay.
work.
Right, Director Griffin brings up a good point. That when they were first planning for disaster recovery in Los Angeles in the mid-80s, all the buildings had generators on them because that was required, but virtually none of them had any diesel fuel in the tanks. So, yeah, at the regular testing, which we do is excellent. Thank you.
They do.
And they change out the fuel too when.
You have
They
to,
now
all
run
right.
fuel around.
Yeah.
All right, very
Yeah,
good. Thank you.
I'm just curious, do we ever do any disaster? I don't know what you call it, simulation?
Yes,
Drills.
yes, we've run earthquake, we've run power outage simulations.
Simulation
Actually,
and
that was-
actual drills.
And it's worth mentioning, like Jason,
Simulation.
came back from the last EOC meeting and I think you're gonna schedule up some training
ESC.
and stuff.
Yeah, Emergency Services
Yeah,
Committee.
so for active shooter type stuff, so, you know,
Good.
Jason had come to me with that before I even got your email.
I'm gonna ask a question, Chris. If you had to rate the entire system right now, where it stands from 0 to 10, with 0 being dilapidated, a word I just love.
I was like,
And we're in really good shape. Where do you, yeah, I know. Where do you think we land?
So I'd have to give us an 8 or 9.
Okay, good.
We're doing really well.
Great.
Thanks for Chris.
3 years to get to where we are now, but
Yeah,
yeah, we're doing good.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate your diligence and your attention to detail.
Thanks, guys.
All
See you
right.
next year.
All right. We're gonna do this in 6 months.
Hey. Don't give them any ideas. All right. Next slide, please.
Did that one? Outreach. Okay, that's great. You know, I'm gonna continue to speak at various meetings, events. Those of you that would like to, who are members of various clubs or entities, feel free to invite me. I'll come speak anytime. So we have Facebook, email. Thought it was interesting that our new president extended the life of TikTok. And I don't believe we have an Instagram account. Those are the other two.
The other, no, not me.
I know we advertise on Instagram though. I've seen our stuff on there.
Yeah, so worth discussing whether we want to have, I believe those are for, in general, the younger audiences that are out there and important people to meet.
TikTok is, I don't know about Instagram anymore. but-
Yeah, I'm not up down. So I know there's a double-edged sword with the TikTok thing, because it's owned by China, and I don't know if we want to. We can ask our consultants. So those are things that the board can give us direction on here or elsewhere. But, we want to keep growing our email account, and I see a lot of posts from our Facebook stuff, so they've been doing a great job. This first year, I did go to a lot of conferences and meetings. I think I'm gonna reach out and maybe do some in Sacramento, start meeting up with some of the more, some of our political contacts at the state and potentially at the federal level. Build those relationships which are important for our future.
There's a one-day legislative, summit in Sacramento coming up in what, 2 months?
Yeah,
All right, you were hoping, I don't know that I can attend that with you, but another member of the board should be assigned to go with you if you do go to that event.
I will put that out there.
All right, we'll fight over that later.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, and then, keep establishing and building the relationships with, Water Department of Water Resources, DWP, the political entity that talked about that. I'm now a member of Aqua's Rural Development Committee, so hopefully I can learn and exert some influence to our benefit in those areas. And that's kind of what I'm looking at for outreach for next year.
Okay,
Well, I think it's obvious, but we don't want to forget the city. We want to really put the pressure, as far as I'm concerned, on the city and make them understand it's to their benefit to work with us.
Yeah. Ron Strand and I argue for a couple hours over coffee at least once a month.
And I actually met with Ron this morning and it actually was a pretty good meeting, so.
Good.
But what I wanted to say, I think we're doing a good job on outreach. I like the Facebook stuff because people can interact. I do not see a need to be on TikTok and everything else and make videos. And I think we're a service provider. We're providing water. We want people to know where we're at if they have an issue, but I don't really see a need for that. I 100% support going to legislation, senators. I think you need to be very involved in that. And I think that's important that we do that.
okay. All right,
I agree.
I agree with everything you just said.
yep, absolutely.
So we have also a public contact through our conference, not the conferences, but the Petrocliff Festival and those things. So this fall in here, we have a stand that we set up once in a while.
Yeah, Petroglyph we got kicked out of this year, because it was for Indian tribe only, but, so it's not the best example. And then the, Economic Development Conference, of course, didn't want people talking about water at all, so they kind of, we're still gonna have a booth there, but, where we can, we get out.
Home show.
And I've sort of continued to try to refine, I think a couple of board members got to see me speak, in the last month or so and try to get into a more understandable, relatable presentation to the public. We're not talking too technically and getting the right messages across. And I've got some good feedback from that from some of the board members who watch as well.
Presentation to service clubs are important.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know about the
It
other
spreads.
boards.
It spreads the words far more effectively than most media.
And just, George spoke at the Republican Club meeting last week, or was last week, I believe.
A couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago. And I have to say, afterwards, I told him he's very much improved in how he's presenting and what he's presenting.
Good.
I think he's beginning to understand his crowd pretty much and what his audience is and how to present to get it out there.
Okay.
And the other thing, are we planning to are we gonna have a table at the Outlook conference or not?
Yes.
We are, okay. I still think it's important we attend just to see what else is going on, but I am disappointed. And I did talk at least, one of the people at Revolve, I may still contact the chamber, why there's no discussion about water, which is one of the single most important things we ought to be talking about.
Right.
And no matter how you can say, I mean, it is, and how could you have a conference like that without discussing it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I also gotta give some thanks to Jim. We had a question from a fundraiser for a local school. And they wanted us to buy a box of wine or something, and we were sort of like, I don't know where that falls, and Jim gave us some good guidance, and, we're not gonna just buy a box of wine for people, but I think the staff.
That's the thing.
But the staff,
You're gonna drink the
stepped up, and
wine.
I believe they're gonna actually build some sort of basket that we donate.
Yeah.
But, we've got good, clear guidance on where ethically we can be and what benefit to the district has.
Similar to DOD regulations, you can't spend public money on
Yeah.
items like that.
Yeah, so.
Right.
But I'll consider talking to the new mayor and updating.
Oh, we are. Working on that.
Good thinking. All right. Anything else on outreach? Right, hearing none, workshop items. So we're all the way now to board of directors goals,
Mr. President,
and I'm going to go ahead and, yes,
I'm gonna do one thing before we get off a beat.
okay, go ahead.
Is I'm gonna ask the same question of operations, engineering, and finance. On a scale of 0 to 10,
Ah,
where do you think we land in terms of how we're doing our finance, our budget, our, income and stuff like that? I know putting you on the spot, but I think this is important.
I mean, as far as procedures and policies and stuff, I think we're at an 8 as far
Okay.
as financial resilience.
Uh-huh.
Probably closer to a 5 until we get this
Until we get the,
rate study.
okay, that's honest. Operations?
Our system overall, 7.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's in decent shape, but there are definitely some things that we need to address.
And you've already addressed those here. and
We're trying to.
Okay. What engineering?
I would agree with Jason on
Same
that.
thing with engineering, because you're closely involved with it.
As a department,
Yeah,
for the two of us,
yeah.
I think sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot going on, so I would maybe a 6.
Okay. But you're getting the work done.
Getting the work done, maybe not as quickly as we would like to at times. Sometimes we do have to rely on our consultants to get some things done more quickly, but. Yeah, it's what
Thank
it
you.
is.
Are the main challenges to not being higher in those assessments?
Oh, I guess
Financial?
you want to talk about
Yes.
administration and HR. Now, what do you think where we stand in policies and regulations and keeping up with everything?
I believe we're staying as current as possible. Like I said, we're attending a webinar next
Right.
week on the new laws, but I do have to give a shout out to Chris and Amber because they helped me immensely. Keeping the website up to date, keeping all of those ADA compliant.
You feel pretty good about it?
I do. I would give it an 8,
Okay, great.
8, 9.
Thank you.
And our website consultant, they're
Yeah.
doing great at helping us and not charging us as
Who
higher.
works with our PR website consultant? Which one, all you working with or just Lauren? Lauren does?
George does it.
George does as well? Okay, and you're satisfied with
But then
it?
we review this stuff too. we all
Okay.
do, so.
Good, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
To answer, yes, financial, we've had to defer some things that we would have liked to handle previously, but we've looked at other systems and we think, man, we would like to be like that system. So there's other systems to the west of us who we're very glad that we're not like.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right,
So can I make a quick comment?
please do.
Because you didn't ask me.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I told you that, I talk about the important people. I'm just kidding.
So I'm gonna talk about the important people
Yeah,
too.
I know,
I would rate the staff that we have here at a 9+.
okay.
I mean, and I think that's, as a general manager, that's really what you have to look at. And you go like, do we have the right people in the right places doing the right things? And I can't say enough that the staff here is beyond outstanding.
People that care.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, that's why I see more than anything else, the people that work here care.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's now 13 after. I'm going to call another 5-minute break before we get into the next section. So let's meet back here in 5 minutes, please. to get started. All right, very good.
I just
See,
still
where
think
are
we're
we?
winning for Hogan Center.
Item, item D rather. All right, review any C. Board of Directors goals, yes?
Yes.
All right, let's. Vice President Griffin, what do you, have to share with us on this for goals?
I wanna see us work better with the groundwater authority this year, the city of Ridgecrest. I wanna try to, form a better relationship with the city on working towards a wastewater reclamation project. I think that's priority, it should be a priority. As far as here, I wanna see that our staff is taken care of the way they need to be taken care of. I think I expressed that earlier, but I wanna make sure that the employees get what they need to do the job. Whatever that job is, whatever that requirement may be, I think it's our duty to give that to them. I wanna commend George. I think he's done a great job on employee relations. I think I've never heard from the employees the way that they're reacting to the general manager, so I commend you on that, George. I think you've done a great job with the employees. I would like to see the board, I don't know what's in place right now, I don't ever see it in a budget. And I don't know what legally can be done, as far as use of public funds, but I would like to see a fund created for awards dinners, like retirement parties. We just had a retirement party for an employee that was here for over 30 years. And staff, employees paid for the dinner and the party because there's no fund set up for the district to do that. And I think that's, we're asking staff members to pay for a retirement party for somebody that worked here for 30 years and to take out of their hard-earned money to pitch in to cover the food bills and stuff like that. So I think there should be some type of a safety recognition program where we put a little bit of money in for awards banquets, if at the end, you do safety banquets and stuff like that. And I would really like to see that because I think it's important.
So that may or may not be possible. There are legal restrictions as to how we can spend the ratepayers' money.
Correct.
Right, okay. All right, very good. Director Boyd.
So I second everything Chuck just said there. I think these are great objectives. We're still getting negative press. I keep getting questions. It's not frequent, but it's enough. Why are we doing this adjudication? I don't know, so there's still a perception that we're doing things that we don't need to do. And I don't know how we improve that communication. I did notice, not to be critical of our outreach, but I've been noticing on Facebook, the GA is getting more effective on Facebook. This $50 million award.
Through the city.
Huh?
They went through the city.
Went through the city.
They posted
Interesting.
they posted the same thing in 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah. So my comment is, our focus mostly that I've been seeing is Water Smart, which is an important thing to be advocating for. But I think the communications collectively, board directors and perhaps staff, the GM might help us if we improve reminding the public why, maybe in a more simple terms, why we have to do this adjudication.
Okay.
And where it's likely to go. I think that's important. It's an image thing for us. Another image thing for us is, recycling water as a potential solution, partial solution for our future, water security in the valley. I think that's understood, but I think we could spend more time trying to get that
Pushing the
realization, pushing the idea out there, make sure, especially if we're publicly, as we have been publicly resisting the need for imported water. We should be saying, but, we recognize there's some challenges. I think we're doing this, but I don't know that we're doing it well enough. And I'm open to ideas to help there. Thanks to the staff. I'm really proud of what you guys are doing. Thanks for the tours. We had a great tour with Jason and I think Ken. That was a very, very formative for me. see that from the inside out. I don't know if others around the table would benefit from that or not. Maybe I was the only one who did it. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Mel. Director Rotora.
I agree with everything that, Chuck Mr. Boyd said. Want to emphasize a couple things. The city outreach, I think, I don't understand at all why there's a reluctance to work with us, and we need them and they need us, and I'm not sure why we can't do a better job of making them understand that we need to work together. I too had a tour of the facilities. Both Jason and Ken Silliman did an excellent job. I enjoyed the tour, and it was very informative. I noticed there were a lot of what I consider small items that would make their life a whole lot easier. And it would be nice if we could just somehow figure out a way to fund those things so they don't have to keep bothering the staff. I guess my primary interest internally here is the finances, and I'm very optimistic that what I saw today is going to help us in the future figure out what our status in the middle of the year is, so that we know how much money we have, if we're ahead or behind, and if there is a need to fund something else, is there money there to do it? And I think in the past, I've not been real confident of the ability to say yes or no, we've got the money or we don't. And I think what we're going to be doing in the future is going to be a big help there. And I want to thank George for pressing that issue, and it will help him as well, I'm sure.
All right, thank you, Director Rotora. Director Dudzinski.
I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. I can't say.
Buy that for a minute.
I can't say negative about what the other board members have said. I agree with every one of them, so I'm not gonna repeat them.
Right.
But I may elaborate on some of them. When it comes to outreach, I agree that we need to keep working on the city and the city officials, whether it could be individually. We all talk to them. We all know who they are. We talk to them and get them more involved with understanding what happens here at the district and why we do things. I've had the comments from one of the recent leaders that came to our meeting afterwards. He goes, man, no people out of come to these things, you learn a lot. And I says, absolutely. So how do we encourage them to involve themselves more with the district, to understand what they do, like we try to, watch their meetings and such. I think that's very, very important that we keep it up. And I'm more speaking from the individuals, that everybody knows somebody, and it's worth talking to them. I think the PR group, I think you said this, Director Boyd, is that maybe not only use PR when it comes to the GA and the pipelines, maybe we can use it to toot our horn on general operations.
Yes.
Things that we do here that the public needs to know, and how the money's being spent, and how our system is in good shape, and whatever it may be. I think we can work more with PR doing that kind of work as well. And as well as, they're always pushing on things about the GA. I think that the cost issue of the whole GA plan still needs to be somehow still be addressed with the community. And I saw that recently after their latest PR, their posting. People were saying, oh yeah, it may be worth it. And of course, Sharon, as you could see, was saying, hey, it's gonna cost this, this, and this, and this. That kind of information, the public needs to understand that. And with that, I want to say that I feel very strongly that when we meet as a board and we're in public session like this, that we have no place to personally criticize anybody. I don't have a problem with us criticizing policy, procedures, misconceptions, or facts. I think it needs to stay on that, because you can stand strong on those things. If this is what was said, this is what we believe is correct. But I think any general criticizing of whether it be a body or an individual, that as a board that we need to, if we're, I'm not saying we're doing it, but please refrain from it. I think it hurts us in the long run.
That doesn't count council, does it?
Now. See, you started already,
Oh, he was only kidding.
He was only kidding. And the last thing I want to say is is that I think that, this is one of the better workshops I've been to. I think that the agenda was well thought out, well put together. I'll give most of the credit to George and the staff and then onto our president who followed this agenda well and kept us in line. Because I see that we're actually gonna finish on time. And I think we covered a lot here.
We did.
And I surely appreciate that, and I want to see this continue like this.
Okay.
And that's all I have, thank you.
Especially the table layout.
The table layouts.
The table, yeah, oh yeah, the table layout
Way
too.
better.
Jason he made that happen?
Jason did.
He remembered that. is what he
Chris,
did.
right?
And Chris, yeah. Absolutely.
Outreach and relations. With the city and the GA and the public in general, I agree with all the other directors, that's very important. I'd like to also see enhanced communications with the state and the federal government.
Yes.
And move forward from there. I would like to thank the staff for doing a wonderful job putting the agenda together. And that's all the comments that I have as far as goals go. I think you're on the right track with things.
See, that's why you go
during the
last,
projects.
so we can have all these other good things. to
Saves
say.
me
I
a lot
agree.
of breath. It does. All right, so with that.
Any comments from,
Well, this is the board stuff. We have, are there any discussions on outstanding issues? Item D. All right, so discussions about the board goals, anybody? Sorry, jumping ahead. No?
oh, I think we sort
Can
of
I mention
covered.
one thing? Because
Please.
I had agreed with Ron when you're talking about outreach, about operations and things.
Yeah.
Something that I've been thinking about for quite a while. Cause I see other districts do this, calling out their crews and their employees
yeah.
when they're doing certain projects, or
Yeah.
if somebody's retiring, why are we
That's
not putting something
what
out about it?
Yeah.
Or people are getting awards, or they're getting new certifications. I think we should have that
Yeah,
out.
or we just completed this pipeline
Yes.
and we're waiting to put it into service
Yeah.
and don't worry, we're handling the pipe problem. It's gonna be disposed of, you know, because people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we put that out there, we're proactive. And
And here's what it means, here's why we did it.
Here's
what
why,
could happen if we
yes,
didn't do
yes.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was good. I like the idea of the retirements and personal achievements. For
Yeah.
example, when
Yeah.
they get their engineering certification, that needs to
We
be
had someone just
let out.
get his
or our IT
distribution,
program, I mean, how
certification.
far as it came, there's so many things we could put out.
Yeah,
we had someone just work really hard to pass his distribution and YCF exam.
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Anything else on discussions? Thank you. That was good. Anybody? No? All right, let's go ahead to item D then, please. Review any outstanding issues. Are there any outstanding issues that you'd like to bring up at this point? Anything that came to your mind, the previous discussions that we haven't yet covered?
Wow. I don't have any changes.
Covered today.
Okay,
Oh,
Okay, I'll make one comment then.
go ahead.
I want to thank the board. You guys are fantastic people to work for. You guys care about the water district, community. Your service is far more valuable than you get compensated for. I want to thank you guys for the time and effort you put in to help this be a better community. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I saw a hand, no?
Public comments?
Public comments?
No public comments out there?
Nothing out there?
No.
Wow,
Board comments
you got
and
people listening?
future agenda
I
items.
don't know if they're listening.
Future agenda items, can we please add or look into what is the legality of creating some type of fund?
Did you write that down, Jim?
Sure.
I already have it.
Okay.
All
I
right,
assume you did.
anyone else? Future agenda items.
I would hope we have that one solved by the time another workshop takes place.
Yeah.
We can, my opinion, just bring it to the finance committee, from there we can bring it
Just
to,
bring it to fine, yeah,
Yeah.
right, or the, yeah, anyone.
yeah,
Just let us know what you find.
yeah.
All right,
I like this agenda. I think this
it's a
is
good agenda.
a good agenda. I just, it's almost adopting this, it's almost the agenda.
It should be pretty close to the template we use for the future.
Good.
All right, very good. I'm also keeping time, so we can use that for planning in the future. Well, then, if anybody in the public has any last comments to make? No?
No.
I like what I'm hearing, that you guys are going the right direction.
Okay. Anybody online raising their hand?
We do.
Yeah.
All right.
Morning, Renee.
Yeah, Renee's gotta be out there.
She's muted. Go ahead and unmute.
All right. Nothing, no.
No, I don't, I asked her to unmute, so. Can you unmute? Caller?
How can you, Renee?
Is it Renee raising her hand?
It is.
Yeah. I'm anxious to hear from her.
Still muted?
Still muted. She's struggling.
Oh, okay. We'll give you a little time.
Yeah. No, and she shows interest, yeah. I wish more people showed interest.
I'm jealous she was actually at the last city council meeting. She
I know.
never comes to ours in person anymore.
Well, I like the effort of it.
She watches every meeting. It's great.
Renee, if you can't unmute, can you at least type in your question like you read it?
Send me a line text, I'm gonna call you.
Is she just having trouble unmuting her?
It appears so.
Yeah.
And our mics are still live.
Or Mark Charlotte.
Yep.
Have we had anybody come in and use the speaker? Have we not had anybody use the speaker?
Well, we used it at our.
Town hall.
Oh, so we used-
I know she can hear her hand went up when he said.
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay.
Actually, back today.
Renee, they're gonna cut time and you gotta get it noticed. I would like to see the operations and engineering departments get all the needed assets they need.
Perfect. Absolutely agree.
Absolutely agree.
Absolutely. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 11:35 a.m. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for
You
your
just
hard
set a
work.
new record, Mr. President.